Okay, we will go ahead and start the January meeting of the Little Rock Planning Commission. And as we normally do, Happy New Year to everybody. We'll start with a roll call to determine a quorum. Mr. Thrower.
This is the roll call vote for the Planning Commission, January 11th, 2024. Baxter?
Present.
Brown?
Here.
Hodges?
Here.
Lunday?
Here.
McDonald?
Here.
Person?
Here.
Russell?
Present.
Samad?
Here.
Vogel?
Here.
Vickers?
Present.
Hart?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, great. I think you've all had an opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting of 2024. I would entertain a motion for those minutes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as stand.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. A roll call vote, please.
Baxter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Hodges?
Yes.
Lunday?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Person?
Yes.
Russell?
Aye.
Samad?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Minutes are approved.
Okay. Before we jump into our consent agenda this evening, we are at a point where we need to take care of some internal business and elect officers. I have served as the chair of the Planning Commission, and I came into that position when one of our commissioners was moved over to a different area of city service, and then Mr. Vickers has been our vice chair. So the way we normally do this is just open things up for open things up for, word am I looking for? Nominations, thank you very much. Open things up for nominations, and we'll start with the chairman, and then what we'll do is just take all of those who have been nominated, and whoever gets the most votes is the lucky commissioner who will serve as chair. So at this point, I will open up the floor for nominations for chair. Can staff remind us of what this term looks like? Is this 1 year for chair?
Yes, it is 1 year.
It's a 1 year term. Okay. So it'll be one year, 12 meetings, and I'll open up the floor at this time for nominations for chair of the Little Rock Planning Commission.
Question to the chair. You willing to serve again?
Who asked that question?
That would be me. There you go.
Yeah, I will do it. I think my original term was abbreviated, so if no one else wants it, I'll take it, but we'll have some other nominations, I bet.
I was going to nominate Michael Vickers.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Okay, we have a nomination for Mr. Vickers. You can't do that. You're not allowed to do that.
Acclamation.
Any
Is
other
it
nominations?
I'd nominate Robbie Vogel.
Robbie Vogel. Okay, we have a nomination for Mr. Vickers and a nomination for Robbie Vogel. Floor will remain open for nominations. Anyone else?
I nominate Mr. Hart.
Okay, Mr. Baxter has nominated me. All right, so we have 3 candidates: Hart, Vickers, Vogel. Anyone else? Okay, at this point, we will do a roll call vote, I believe, to see, and again, the one with the most votes will get the office, and then we'll go through the same process for vice chair. Yes, sir.
Do you want to do a roll call vote for each nomination, or do you want to do one roll call vote and the commissioner just tells who they vote for?
Just one roll call vote for each commissioner and see for whom they vote. Make it short and sweet.
Baxter?
Mr. Hart.
Brown?
Vickers.
Hodges,
Mr. Hart.
Lunday,
Abstain.
McDonald,
Mr. Vickers.
Person,
Vickers.
Russell,
Vickers.
Samad,
Vickers.
Vogel,
Vickers.
Vickers,
I want a tie.
I like the way this is trending.
I want a tie, but it would be unbeknown to me to.
Yeah, and I'm going to vote for Vickers as well. So in a landslide, Commissioner Vickers will be our next chair.
yes.
Okay, so we'll
Thank you.
we'll now open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
I'd like to make a nomination for Mr. Vogel, Commissioner Vogel.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Hart.
I'd like to make a nomination for Ms. McDonald.
I'll nominate myself.
Any other nominations? We have 4, Vogel, Hart. I'm going to remove my name from this. Thank you for whoever nominated me, but I'll remove my name. So we have Vogel, McDonald.
I'd like to remove mine too. My term ends before the year. So.
Your term ends before the year. We have McDonald and
My term ends before the year.
we have Russell. Russell's the only one left. Any other nominations?
Unanimous decision.
I don't believe there's any, okay, we'll close the nominations at this point. I don't believe there's any reason to vote at this juncture. I don't know that I'm following Robert's rules very closely, but we have one person who's willing to do it, and that person will be elected vice chair. So I polled the group of commissioners earlier this week. You know, sometimes there's that awkward handoff mid-meeting. We're not going to do that. I'll chair today's meeting, and then at the February meeting, Mr. Vickers will chair that meeting, and Mr. Russell will be vice chair. So congratulations, gentlemen.
Congratulations,
And,
Commissioner
we'll
Russell.
proceed on with the people's business at this point, and the reading of the consent agenda by Mr. Moore.
Following is a consent agenda, Little Rock Planning Commission meeting of January 11th, 2024. First, we'll go over the items that are going to be deferred and withdrawn. Item 1, S-1953 is being withdrawn without prejudice as the applicant failed to submit all the required documents. The application was previously deferred twice. Item 2, Z-9850 is also being withdrawn without prejudice for the same reason. This application was also previously deferred twice. Item 5, Z-9868 is being withdrawn at the request of the applicant. Item 6, Z-9880. Item 7, Z9881. Item 8, Z9882. Item 9, Z9883. Item 10, Z9884. Item 11, Z9885. Item 12, Z9886. Item 13, Z9887. Item 15, Z6304A. And item 23, Z9900. All of these items are being deferred to the February 8th agenda. All of these applicants failed to notify the surrounding property owners as required. Item 27, Z9409A is being withdrawn without prejudice at request of the applicant. And item 29, Z9894 is being deferred to February 8th as the applicant also failed to notify the surrounding property owners. Next are the items on consent approval. Item 14, Z9877, the Landry Group Vehicle Parking and Storage PDC, 503 Mapleville Pike. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraphs D, E, and F and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 16, Z9923, Wolf's Bridge Community Park, conditional use permit, 901 Brookside Drive. Staff recommends approval of the requested CUP subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F in the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 19, Z9899, a rezoning from O3 to R3, 822 South Van Buren Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested R3 rezoning. Item 20, Z9910, rezoning from O3 to C3, 11801 Canis Road. Staff recommends approval of the requested C3 rezoning. Item 21, Z5527A, rezoning from PCD and C3 to C4, 5400 South University. Staff recommends approval of the requested C4 rezoning. Item 22, Z6237B, Woobank Hair Salon, revised PDO, 14104 Taylor Loop Road. Staff recommends approval of the revised PDO subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs E and F in the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 24, Z9904, Pickens Auto Repair, PDC, 8805 Dreer Lane. Staff recommends approval of the requested PDC rezoning subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, F, and H of the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 25, Z9909, Scipio A. Jones Museum, PCD, 1872 South Cross Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested PDO zoning, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 28, Z9893, Scott STR2 PDC, 5312 B Street. Staff recommends approval of the PDC rezoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 30, Z9895, Rockville Properties 1, STR2, PDC, 519 East 6th Street, Unit 1. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 31, Z9895A, Rockville Properties 2, STR2, PDC, 519 East 6th Street, Unit 2. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 32, Z9895B, Rockville Properties 3, STR2, PDC, 519 East 6th Street, Unit 3. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 33, Z9896, Stone Key Properties 1, STR2, PDC, 1910 Van Buren Boulevard, Unit B. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 34, Z9896A, Stone Key Properties 2, STR2, PDC, 1910 Kavanaugh Boulevard, Unit E. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 35, Z9897, Kelly Cab Properties 1, STR2, PDC, 517 Chickadee Drive, Unit A. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 36, Z9897A, Kelly Cab Properties 2, STR2, PDC, 517 Chickadee Drive, Unit B. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 37, Z9897B, Kelly Cab Properties 3, STR2, PDC, 517 Chickadee Drive, Unit C. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 38, Z9898, Kelly Cab Properties 4, STR2 PDC, 413 East 15th Street, Unit A. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 39, Z9898A, Kelly Cab Properties 5, STR2 PDC, 413 East 15th Street, Unit B. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 40, Z9898B, Kelly Cab Properties 6, STR2 PDC, 413 East 15th Street, Unit C. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 41, Z9898C, Kelly Cab Properties 7, STR2 PDC, 413 East 15th Street, Unit D. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 42, Z9901, Brandon Realty LLC 1, STR2 PDC, 1865 South Cross Street. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 43, Z9901A, Brandon Realty LLC 2, STR2 PDC, 1865A South Cross Street. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 44, Z9902, Gilmore STR2 PDC, 1817 Fair Park Boulevard. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 45, Z9903, Golf STR2 PDC, 1601 North Bryant Street. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. And item 46, Z9907, Jensen 1, STR2 PDC, 4909 Lee Avenue. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. That concludes the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Moore. We need a motion related to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, January 11, 2024.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Okay, a roll call vote for the consent agenda. Mr. Thrower.
Baxter,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Hodges,
Yes.
Lunday,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Person,
Yes.
Russell,
Aye.
Samad,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Consent agenda is approved.
Consent agenda has been approved. If your item was on that agenda, you're welcome to stay, but your item has been dealt with this evening. So moving on to the regular agenda, Mr. Moore, as is customary, let me get on the same page with you with respect to what we have on the regular agenda, and we'll just take these in numerical order since they're all numbers tonight. I have number 3, number 4, number 17, 18, 26, 47, and 48.
That's correct.
Sound good? Okay. Item number 3 will be first on our regular agenda tonight, Master Company. If the applicant would approach the podium, please, for item number 3.
It's on there.
Is the applicant present? We'll get a reading, but I want to make sure the applicant is here first, because sometimes our applicants don't show up.
Paruthian Pie, are you in the room? Master Company? Convenience store located on Markham Street?
Last call for the applicant for Master Company, 9911 West Markham Street. Would you approach the podium, please, if you're here? Okay.
Mr. Chair, this item's been deferred twice already, according to your bylaws, needs to be withdrawn.
Okay. Do we need to vote on this, or is this just an automatic withdrawal?
I would say go ahead and vote on it.
Okay, go ahead and vote on it. Okay, so we need a motion to withdraw this item as we're on the third no-show already.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to defer or withdraw, the item number 17Z-9892.
Before we get a second, Jamie, you got a hand up.
Yes, Chair, in that withdrawal request, you do need to make a clarification of, because of the time frame, if an item is withdrawn, whether they can come back and, or whether they have to wait a year to come back. So the withdrawal needs to be either with or without prejudice. With prejudice means that it cannot come back for 1 year.
So do you want to amend that with prejudice or without? Without, okay.
Let me just get staff. I got a question for staff. Jamie, is that something that is by the rule books, making sure we're not, is principled and based upon the commissioners, right? If we want it with or without prejudice.
Typically, withdrawn without prejudice is when an applicant requests their withdrawal, but they may not have all the information, they want to bring it back. I think we had this maybe a couple meetings ago. Withdrawn with prejudice that's that 3 times, we have met to hear it, and that is typically the recommendation because that would make it come back in a year for it. So typically when it's an applicant withdrawn, that's what that is. If it is commission withdrawn, it is with prejudice.
I got that. I just wanted to make sure we was following policy.
Yes, we are.
Also, I didn't know if it was an emergency or something happened with this applicant, if it was something health, medical conditions or something like that.
Something else.
I didn't want to make a motion for prejudice, and then we come to find out later that it was something.
It can always, every decision that's planning commission can always be reconsidered and brought back before another vote and decided upon. So at that point in time, if something was extraneous, and the city attorney's office can correct that if I'm saying something wrong, they're more than welcome to come back before this as an item and discuss it with the board and request reconsideration. That's also in our bylaws.
Okay. The applicant is, excuse me, Commissioner Vickers. The applicant is 2 minutes away. He's pulling up in the parking lot for the master company.
Okay, well, we'll perhaps he was just delayed. We'll defer this till a later. We'll just have this on the agenda later if the applicant is in fact here. So we'll have this on the. Are you the applicant?
Hi, I am not the applicant. I am actually. We are the neighbors of the applicant. And
okay. Well,
I know that it's going to be deferred, but this is the 3rd time we are here, and we feel that we do, according to the code of ordinances, I am allowed to speak. So if that's okay, I would like to.
Well, I tell you what, since they just pulled up, you will be allowed to speak. This item will be heard tonight, but we will do it a little bit later on in the agenda. So let's move on to item 4 at this point in time, and then we'll come back to item 3 as soon as we have an applicant. So item 4, Dogtopia conditional use permit. Is the applicant for Dogtopia here? Dogtopia, I see an applicant. Okay, if we'll have the reading, Mr. Moore, we'll have the reading first, and then the applicant can speak to his request. Mr. Moore.
Item number 4, Z9888, Dogtopia conditional use permit, 400 North Bowman Road. The applicant is requesting the CUP to allow a single commercial retail suite to be utilized as daycare for dogs or a kennel that caters to dogs. The facility will be located, will also include boarding services, a playroom, spa services, and weekend and overnight boarding. The proposed business will be located in the southernmost suite in the largest commercial building on the site at the southwest corner of the site. And staff recommends approval of the requested CUP subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Okay, applicant, if you'll just kind of introduce your And I don't have any cards in opposition. I think this was actually pulled by a commissioner, so there may be a commissioner who's expressing some concerns from a citizen. So if you want to kind of introduce your proposal, and then we'll have some back and forth after that.
Absolutely. So Dogtopia is a national daycare for dogs. We have 245 locations nationwide. Never had any issues with landlords, neighbors, et cetera. We do overnight boarding and a little bit of spa services.
Any questions from commissioners or Mr. Russell? Go ahead.
Yes, so I did request that this application be pulled to the regular agenda just to ask a few questions. How many square feet is included in this suite?
Approximately 5,000.
5,000 square feet. How many square feet is dedicated to play area for the animals?
Approximately 4,000.
It's only 1,000 square feet and
Yeah, approximately 4,000 for dogs.
the play area,
Correct.
4,000. So 1,000 square feet for kennels and for office, reception, receiving, et cetera.
So that 4,000 square feet is for play area as well, in kennels.
What area specifically is dedicated to the play area for the dogs?
So it's split into 3 different sections based on size of dog. And each room has some kennels along the wall, and then play area within the center of the room.
And how is that divided?
So it's divided by size or by weight of dog. So we have the toy room for dogs under 15 pounds, mid-sized dogs, and then large dogs.
For the 3 separate sizes of dogs, how much square footage is dedicated to each?
It's approximately 1,200 square feet.
For each size?
Correct.
Okay, and that's just the play area?
So it's combined into one room for each size of dog.
So there's 1,200 square feet dedicated for small dogs, 1,200 for medium, 1,200 for large?
Correct.
Okay. And the additional 400 square feet is?
Mostly office space, utilities, et cetera. I mean, overnight boarding is only about 10 to 15% of our business.
Okay. Who is on site overnight with the animals?
So overnight, there's no one on site. It's all run by technology. The dogs really do better without a human on site. But there's someone nearby within about a 5-minute drive.
Okay. And there's no outdoor space whatsoever for these animals to play?
Correct.
Okay. And we think that's sufficient space for the number of animals you plan to board?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 4Z-988, Dogtopia conditional use permit.
Second.
You have a motion and a second, so roll call vote for item 4.
Baxter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Hodges?
Yes.
Lunday?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Person?
Yes.
Russell?
No.
Samad?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Let's move back to item number 3 now. I think the applicant was delayed in getting here, so is the applicant present before we have the reading? Oh, the applicant is present. If you'll approach the podium, and Mr. Moore, if you'll go ahead and we'll have the reading on item number 3, Master Company, 9911 West Markham.
Item number 3, file number Z9858, Master Company PDC, 9911 West Markham Street. The applicant is requesting to rezone this 0.22 acre site from O3 to PDC to allow the existing building to be utilized as a convenience store. The applicant is not proposing to include alcohol sales as part of this rezoning request. Staff recommends approval of the requested PDC zoning subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Okay, I do have a couple of cards in opposition, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to introduce your proposal first. You can make your presentation and defer the rest of your time until after those who have opposed it have their say, or so I'll just turn the floor over to you, sir. If you'll state your name and address first, please.
Yes, good evening, Board. Sorry for being delayed. Myself, I'm Pavitran. I'm representing Master Company LLC for this rezoning. So the basic, what I'm trying to do at this location is to make it a convenience store, which is good for the neighborhood, with the food and fried foods and pizzas over there. So that is what basically I'm trying to do. It's like a 1,500 square feet building. I'm going to use like 1,000 square feet for this purpose and 500 square feet for storage and equipments. So the store is going to be operated for neighborhood. It's going to be open at 8 to 10 p.m. basically, and I have enough parking space, I believe, in the front side. This is what I'm trying to propose at that location. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I've got a couple of cards in opposition. Karina Sanchez. Okay. All right, now is your time to speak, Ms. Sanchez. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Dear members of staff and Planning Commission, my name is Karina Sanchez. I'm a graduate of the University of Central Arkansas and a resident of Little Rock for the past 17 years. My husband Martin and I, we are business owners, and we own the office building at 9923 West Markham, which is directly next to the applicant's building. We recently purchased the space to operate our business and provide a safe environment for our 3 children, as our office space does include additional lots where they can, and it's all fenced in, where they can play. One of the reasons we purchased this space was due to its surrounding office spaces, and we did think about the ability to resell it in the future if needed. This letter is to, well, you already probably received this because I emailed it, but if I know the holidays came around and if you didn't get a chance, well, here we are. At this moment, our office is zoned general office, and it is a quiet and peaceful environment. We do daily office work that requires mental concentration, and we feel that having a convenience store next door will bring disruptions, probably robberies and crimes to their neighborhood, as well as issues with parking. The applicant noted that we had an agreement to include a shared access easement to facilitate drive-through lane traffic. We have never met him, nor have we spoken to him, and we have never agreed with the applicant regarding an easement. We strongly oppose this. The applicant's property lines do not allow for drive-through operations. We purchased this property for office use, and even though there's already an access, normally people who live along Oak Street use it, and children when they get out of school. We do not grant permission for our property to be used for the applicant's business operations. Their property lines do not even allow the use of parking along the west side of the applicant's building. And I did email photos where you can see for reference. I do have printouts here of those photos and our surveys and stuff like that. So if you want to look at that, I do have it here, one for each one. Thank you. The rezoning of this building is not compatible with the surrounding area and will not create a harmonious character in the neighborhood. The area contains general office spaces, commercial spaces, but most importantly, residential homes, which are in extremely close proximity to the applicant's building. And you can see that, you will be able to see that in the photos. Please, there is a residential property directly south, a few feet away from the building. This family has lived here far longer than the applicant has owned the building, and they too oppose the rezoning. The rezoning will directly affect the value not only of our property, but the residential home directly behind the building. No one wants to live next to a convenience store just feet away. It's simply not safe for the neighborhood. A convenience store will affect the future development of the area. The building is not on a large or major corner to facilitate traffic. It is essentially in the middle of a larger street. One of the biggest concerns that we have is the sale of liquor now or in the future. Although the sale of alcohol is not proposed at this time, we are certain that it will come up in the future. And thus, the drive-through window that was in the plan. There are families and children that use our driveways as part of their daily commute to Lisa Academy. There's a school right very close, and children usually walk through our parking lots. And we feel that this is going to be a disruption for the dynamic of the community. We were also never notified of a public hearing. We did receive a certified envelope, but it did not contain a notice of hearing. It contained a photocopy of a business card promoting vaping services. This, we believe, was done intentionally to offset attention to what the applicant was trying to do. We do not feel like this is ethical practice and not in good nature. And you can see a photo of what we received in the mail. Also, the green sign showing that the application was for rezoning has been removed, and we believe work has already begun inside the building. Permits should be displayed as well, and they are not. Furthermore, like I mentioned, we are parents of 3 small children, and we are concerned for the safety of our children as we handle operations in our business establishment. There are times when I do come in and I bring my kids with me, and they play in the back. We rarely have cars coming through the lot, and we love that. I'm also concerned for the safety, as I said, of the neighborhood children and the residents. Every day, like I said, children walk through our parking lots to get home. And I did include some photos that show the proximity between the parking lots. If there's a convenience store there, we do anticipate that cars would want to park on our lot. So we anticipate having to put more money into our building to make a parking division or additional signage or upping our security. We just anticipate patrons parking in our lot at late hours. I know he mentioned 8 to 10, but I saw in an application somewhere that it said 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. 12 a.m. We don't agree with this. Furthermore, like I said, we feel like the long hours of operations of the convenience store will bring unwanted and probable disruptions to our office space. Having cash on hand and the ease of leaving the scene in event of a robbery is a major concern to us and the neighbors. There's also a concern for additional traffic of an already heavily transited road, which is Markham. Residents have a hard time turning left onto Markham from Oak Street. And I have personally seen accidents right on Oak Street and Markham. So if there's a convenience store right there in that corner, it is going to cause an issue for the people who live along Oak Street and those of us who have businesses along Markham. So I disagree that there will be a minor increase in traffic. I don't think it will be minor. It will be a lot more traffic. If one does not live or work in that area, one does not know how hard it is to get onto Markham Street, especially during peak traffic hours or school hours. This is the 3rd time we have presented ourselves here, and the applicant was not present during the previous times. I'm sure he has a good reason for that, but we have had to, obviously, we care. This is an issue that is important to us, and we've had to have childcare in order to be here. So we do have, that is all on our end, but I did want to invite our neighbors to come up. They have a letter they did want to read to you guys, and I will be helping with just reading it for them, as English is their 2nd language. So if I may, I would like to read it.
By the way, is this Sergio?
Yes, that's me.
Garlic? Okay, all right. He also turned in a card. Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay. So I'll read the letter for them if that's okay. Okay. Hello, my name is Sergio Rodarte. I'm contesting this issue Z9858, as we believe this is not going to bring good things to our community. Our main concern is the safety of our community. Kids walk to school along with some other kids. We have a middle school not far from this place, and kids walk to school, and some of them wait for the bus. The business they're trying to run is not going to be good for the neighborhood and the community. There is danger with traffic, as it is heavy, and it will affect us in that way too. There's also a very close proximity to our residents. And I have a photo of, I already included one, I believe, but we do have a photo of how close their home is to the applicant's office. If you guys want to look at that, but it's, how many feet?
Is that the photo where the gable of the house is red? Or burgundy, the end of the house?
It's a brown
Okay.
brick with
I think
brown.
we have that in our, yeah, I think we've got that in our,
Yes, that's a residential home. And on the application, he did mention that he wants a drive-through window facing south, which south would be this residential home. So we just don't feel like that's
is a good fit.
a good, yeah, exactly. I mean, this, how many feet would you say?
We're not sure.
30 feet,
About 30 feet
less than 30 or 30.
or so.
Well, I do want to give the applicant a chance to come back up and address the concerns from the neighbors. So if you'll come back up to the podium, and then we'll open things up as well for commissioners who may have questions.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this to our attention. Yeah, like mentioned, so we were trying to get a drive-through on the south side of the building. There was 30 feet driveway distance between there, which belongs to the property. This property 9911 West Markham Street, which is, you can see in the survey, sir. And if the neighbors are trying, like it's not a safety place to come and go, I can build a fence or like something close, like tall enough, so nobody can like pass through or anything like that. And also like if like west side of the neighbor, they don't want to do traffic to come on that side, I can use the Oak Lane. There's an entry from there. I can use that side and build a close, like a tall fence for around the building for safety of everybody. I'm also concerned about my neighbors' safety and everything. That is what I want to put it on. And if they want me to do anything else to make it more workable, I'm ready to do with them.
Any questions from commissioners? I have one, but someone else may have one. Okay, Mr. Hodges.
Yes, sir.
Would the opponent come up?
Yeah, Ms. Sanchez, if you would come back up, please.
So if I'm understanding what you said, this was the notice you received.
That is the notice of hearing we received.
Well, I don't see any hearing time on there.
I'm sorry?
I don't see any hearing time on this. Is there any hearing time?
Exactly. That's what we received. That was the certified.
I would like a yes or no. Did you have was there any date or time listed on this?
No.
Then I don't consider this having been given notice.
And that was the issue the first time. It was deferred because no sufficient notices were mailed.
And this is the second effort?
This is the third time we're here today.
Well, I know, but is this the first, second, or third?
That was the first and only thing we received from the applicant.
I must say, I don't consider that to be notice.
Can I get the applicant podium, please?
Yes, sir.
Is this the actual notice that you sent out?
No, sir. Like, I think there was something mistake on that. Like, but I sent like what is like recommended by the board zoning with the timing and everything as a registered mail. Even I sent it to the other 200 feet neighbors too.
Okay, Monty, do you have that in the record or?
Yes, the applicant did correctly notify all surrounding property owners. I'm not sure what that is that she received in the mail, but the correct notice with the date, time, location of the meeting was mailed as per your requirements.
Okay, all right. I have a question for the applicant on because we have other commissioners who want to ask questions. I had some other hands that were raised. Yeah, Mr. Russell.
I guess question for the applicant and also for the opposition. It appears that you have a shared drive. So typically when there is a shared drive, there is an easement that is deeded to both property owners. Is that the case?
So actually, I'm the new property owner. From the old property owner, it has been said, and it is in the documents. I had to review, I had to put it in front of you.
So there is a deeded easement granted to both properties for the shared drive?
The old owner, they represented and they said it is registered to the city.
No. I don't care what the old owner said. Is there a deeded easement that is recorded with the Pulaski County Board of Assessors?
If you,
that says you both are granted legal access with this shared drive?
From right now, like as a present owner and with them, no, sir.
Okay. So then my suggestion would be remove the drive-through.
Okay.
Do not allow your customers to access your property from your neighbor. That would be the neighborly thing to do.
Yes, sir. I agree with that. If that is the case, I can take it out. Like drive-through is not a problem.
Yeah, our attorney needs to chime in here.
Chairman Hart, since there's going to be substantial changes to this application, I'd like all the commissioners to basically indicate on the record what substantial changes that they think that need to be made, such as the recommendation by Chairman Russell. And then you're going to have to, or Commissioner Russell, I'm sorry, and you're going to have to amend your application. We do not do substantial amendments on the podium.
Okay.
So my recommendation to the chair is to discuss the changes that the commissioners would like to be made, and then defer the matter, make those changes, and then resubmit your application.
Yes, sir. I will do. I agree.
Other questions or comments from commissioners? That was my comment on the shared access. It doesn't look like there is, it looks like there's an ownership dispute on who owns that driveway.
Chair, if you will, I have just a quick question. The young lady stated about the time from 6 a.m., Ms. Sanchez, was that 6 a.m. to 12 a.m.? Midnight was the time?
Yes,
you said
I
was
was
on the application?
told.
And what application are you referring to?
No,
I don't see any.
I called in to find out what was being rezoned to and kind of the details behind that. And I did speak with Ms. Deborah about it, and those are the times that were mentioned.
Okay, so there's anything on paper or any physical application?
Point of information.
No, but those can easily be changed, I feel like, even though
The analysis.
right now it can be set 8 to 10. Once you own it and run it, you can change your hours at any time.
Right. I mean, I think that's where I was going, and thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Yeah, what I was going at, he's saying 8 to 10 now, but it can be subject to at any time, right? Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
Yeah, just point of information, it actually does say 6 to midnight in the analysis from the staff. I think the one thing I want to point out is through this conversation, we're hearing very different things from the applicant versus from the opposition, and different things from what's in writing. I'm very nervous about voting for something where there's that many differences. So.
Yeah.
I think at this point, based on legal counsel, this thing's going to be amended and resubmitted. It's just a question of what all needs to be addressed in the resubmission. Could I get the applicant, could you come back up? This is not we're calling it a convenience store, but it doesn't look like a convenience store. It looks like it was formerly a residence at some point, maybe transitioned to an office. Now you're transitioning to retail. Do you have an idea of what you said you weren't going to sell alcohol. What do you plan to sell?
Actually, to be honest, sir, there is a close by, there is a church. So I'm not going to do the alcohols, I think. as you all know, there is 200 feet around. There should not be a church and there is a schools. Like I was generally considering it as a convenience store, but there is not going to be a beer sales, no alcohol sales at the location. And after I'm getting the rezoning, I'm having a sketch diagram how we're gonna remodel everything to look like a convenience store. So that is the reason I was putting it in front of the board. After the rezone, I can go further, make the plans, designs to make it more like a retail building. So that is the next thing I was trying to say. And there is enough parking space. I believe I don't need other parking space. And to mention, to my left side, like means like to the east side of the building, there is a C2 commercial property. Already there is a business going over there. It's something like a tobacco store. I just want to put it in front of the board for that.
So we need a motion for
Amendment?
to defer this so that it can be amended. And the primary reason, I believe, is just the drive and the dispute between the property owners.
I'd like to, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to defer item 3Z-9858 without prejudice for amendments detailed and outlined by the board.
I might specifically list that we're deferring it to the March hearing to give them a reasonable amount of time to revise, resubmit, and provide notice.
Good point, Commissioner. To outline the motion here, as Commissioner Russell stated, and we'd like to make that deferral until March of 2024, or March meeting.
Okay, we have a motion, and we have a second. That seemed like what we did was in order there. We have a pretty serious.
Monty, do we need to include the bylaw waiver in the motion?
I think that would be your call. According to the bylaws, no application can be.
I would include it in the motion.
Does that include commission deferrals? Or does it specify?
You talking about the bylaw waiver for the deferral?
Well, the 3 is for the applicant. The commission can do a deferral. That's their prerogative to do a deferral. So I think that's what this would be. I don't really think that's a bylaw waiver. I think that's just the commission can defer it because there wasn't some conditions addressed in the application, which we are doing the right procedure.
So we can leave the motion as stand?
You can leave the motion as the same. We have a motion and a second, so roll call vote, Mr. Thrower.
Baxter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Hodges?
Yes.
Lunday?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Person?
Yes.
Russell?
Aye.
Samad?
Yes.
Vogel?
No.
Vickers?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Motion's deferred.
Okay, item number 17. Next on the agenda is the applicant present for item number 17, the Tenon Group Home. If you can make your way to the podium, and then we'll go ahead and have the reading by Mr. Moore.
Item 17, file Z9892, Tenon Group Home 1, special use permit, 822 North Monroe Street. The applicant is requesting a special use permit to allow for a group home facility to be operated in a 2-story single-family residence. The proposed group home will have a maximum of 11 residents, including 1 to 2 house managers at any given time. Staff is not supportive of the special use permit as requested. Staff believes the total number of 11 residents proposed is too intense for this single-family residence and will create an increase in traffic and parking that is not in character with the surrounding residences. Staff feels the proposed use, number of occupants, and increased traffic will have an adverse impact on the area. And as such, staff recommends denial of the requested special use permit.
And then Chairman Hart, before we begin, we have new commissioners, and I know we may have some opposition, so I want it to be abundantly clear that we can talk about public safety, health and welfare, intensity, traffic, but we will have no discussions regarding disability, because that is a violation of the American Disabilities Act, possibly the Fair Housing Act, and also the city's non-discrimination clause. So no discussions regarding disability at all.
Okay, thank you very much. I also want to remind both sides, because we have a significant number of cards here in opposition, we'll allow 20 minutes to the opposition total and 20 minutes to the applicant total. I have about 7 cards in opposition. I have 1 card in support. I have a Justin Buck who's in support of this item, and at this time, we'll go ahead and turn things over to the applicant to introduce your proposal, and understand that you can wait until after the opposition has spoken to counter what they say. But if you'll state your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Ashley Gill. I'm an attorney with the Mitchell Williams Law Firm here in Little Rock. Our address is 425 West Capitol Avenue, Suite 1800, Arkansas 72201. I'm appearing as agent on behalf of the applicant, Tara Tenon. As stated, Ms. Tenon is seeking a permit to allow sober living housing in a family-like environment to more than 4 handicapped individuals. As stated in the application, at this time, we are seeking approval for up to 11 residents at this location, and we would, at this time, yield our time to the opposition.
Okay. And again, 20 minutes total, so with 7 cards, if you are going to just repeat what the person who spoke before you said, remember, we've got a time limit, and Mr. Thrower, will you keep time for me, please? David Loesch is first. If I'm pronouncing that correctly, Loesch.
Thank you. Again, my name's David Loesch. I live immediately across the street from the property. I have a 1-month-old actually here in about a week, and he's just starting to walk, and I think about the traffic on our block and in the neighborhood. There's already a lot of cars in and out from that house specifically, but right on the corner of Kavanaugh, having more cars turn in. There's a lot of, Ubers in and out of there. There's at any given time, 2 to 4 cars in the driveway, as well as on the street on Kavanaugh, coming up and down the street. And so with congestion and just the nature of that type of business running in there, I don't want that on my street with my kids running around.
Okay. Thank you very much. John Schlereth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for serving on this committee. I know how much time's involved. I served on it for 9 years back in the 80s, 2 years as chairman, and I know you're not up here for the money. I'm here today in a dual capacity. First of all, my family partnership owns a parking lot cat-a-corner from this location on Kavanaugh. Parking lot is currently leased to Mr. Dennis Burrow for the benefits of his tenants and their customers on a mixed-use development just east of that parking lot. Mr. Burrow, unfortunately, has suffered a severe stroke and is currently in rehab, and he's not here to represent himself. But I'm sure he would be concerned about this application creating a parking problem that the applicant cannot fulfill on site. But the main reason I'm here is because my great-granddaughter lives directly across the street from her husband's location. Her husband just spoke prior to I did. She's currently raising my great-grandson, who's 11 months old. And she's very distressed about a group home being right across the street. I'll let others in the neighborhood express the bad impact this application would have on the quality of life, the property values, and the resale problems. I would like to take my time to give a better history of the applicant. When I first Googled Tara Tenon, the sole owner of Hillcrest Homes Inc., the first thing that came up was that she's the CEO of Serenity Park, a rehab center located at 2801 West Roosevelt Road. This location was purchased on December the 3rd, 2018 for $1,100,000. There was originally a 12,195 square foot building, which was later added a 9,300 square foot building. This means that the only improvements on this property are 21,550 square feet on improvements that cover 5 acres of land. Plenty of room for addition to expand their existing business. The second thing that came up was that Ms. Tenon is also the owner of the Sunlight Sober Living. Their website states that the Sunlight homes are located in the heart of the historic neighborhood, Hillcrest neighborhood district, and pictures of their homes included pictures of the application before us today. This indicates that they have been operating this location in violation of the zoning ordinance. Then I looked up what other properties Hillcrest Homes LLC owns, and I found the following. The current property was purchased on October 29, 2022, by Tenon and transferred to Hillcrest Homes on October the 18th, 2023. The purchase price was $545,000. Then just last year, the property right next door was purchased by Hillcrest Homes LLC on April the 7th, 23 for $195,000. The property at 205 Woodrow, which I noticed is also on this agenda, was purchased by Tenon on November 13th, 2020 for $425,000 and transferred to Hillcrest Homes on October the 18th of 2023. The property right next door to 205 Woodrow was purchased for $180,000 by Tenon and transferred to Hillcrest Homes in September 22nd, 2022. I also found there's a property at 406 East 7th Street, directly across from the old Terry Mansion, was purchased in July of 2017 for $300,000. This property is located and was transferred to Hillcrest Homes on June 21st of 2023. This is the old Terry Mansion, which is now owned by the City of Little Rock. 2 other properties owned by Hillcrest Homes include one at 1716 South Buchanan, which was purchased for $62,000, and one at 2202 Biscayne, which was
Sir, can we focus mainly just on this property? You're reading through an asset list of things that she owns throughout the city, but I'm not sure that the neighbors here are concerned about.
I apologize. I'm very hearing impaired.
Okay, let's just focus on 822 North Monroe Street at this point.
And I'll be through. Is that okay?
Sure, yeah.
Thank you. I also found that Tenon also bought a property directly across the street from the governor's mansion. I assume this is her personal reference, but who knows, it may be considered for some future date for the same use. It's obviously that the applicant is not taking just one location and being converted into a group home, but a pattern of choosing homes in old established neighborhoods and converting them to rehab centers to the detriment of the current residents. These centers do serve a purpose, but they need to be located in most suitable locations, like the property on West Roosevelt, or isolated properties like the Oasis Center in Far West Little Rock. I apologize for taking too much time, and I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
That's okay. Janice Amon. Okay. Susan Day.
Hi, thank you for having me here. I'm a resident that just recently, within the past 24 hours or 48 hours, learned about the property request at 822 North Monroe Street. And the neighborhood that I live in is 2 blocks, well, 1.5 blocks north of there on I in North Monroe. My neighbors and I have all expressed some concern because of the parking issues. We're right by Mount St. Mary's, and as it is, the young women are not supposed to be parking on the street. They expanded the parking in their school, but they still park on the street. And even though there's only two-hour parking on one side of North Monroe, people park there for extended periods of time. And so the parking is already a congested concern. The traffic and the number of students that wander in the neighborhood is of great concern to all of us in terms of traffic, safety, and so on. So that's what I would like to express our concern about.
Thank you very much. Let's see, you were Miss Day, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, Edward Oglesby.
May it please the Commission. My name is Edward Oglesby. My address is 500 Pleasant Valley Drive, Suite C. I'm an attorney here in Little Rock. I have the privilege of appearing before you today on behalf of Mr. Talmadge and Miss Emma Ward, who reside at 810 North Monroe, Miss Tommy Modlin, who resides at 708 North Spruce, Mr. Greg Snow, who resides on North Jackson, and David and Beth Deere, who reside at 804 North Monroe. Begin with the two issues that you've already heard, traffic and parking. Traffic is a nightmare. Their proposed parking should be illegal. Right in front of this house is a no parking sign. They propose parking spots 7 and 8 out of 11 be in front of a house with a no parking sign. Where do you put those two cars? You put them down the street in front of these neighbors' houses. Where do you put the other 5 cars for the 11 occupants of this residence? They go on this street where there already is no parking to be had. The occupancy number is too high. The locale is not ideal. It sits on the edge. It's a sober living house sitting on the edge of an entertainment district with open alcohol every Thursday afternoon. The ordinance that controls 36.4 tells us that this use is only permitted as a special use designated. The issues to be considered by this commission, as found in the ordinance, are spacing of existing similar facilities, existing zoning and land use patterns, which this violates, the maximum number of individuals proposed to reside there. We're in a single-family neighborhood with 4 to 6 people in each house. They want 11 in this residence. The need and provision for readily accessible public or quasi-transportation, access to needed support services. There are no support services in that part of Little Rock. Employment agencies, medical service providers. Lastly, the availability of adequate on-site parking. Of the 6 elements the City Board has given this commission to use, they fail 4 of them. I'm trying to move with rapidity. I know there's other people here who want to speak. The staff comments are illustrative. They recommend against approval of this. As far as we know, this is a for-profit institution attempting to make a profit out of a single-family neighborhood. They're already using it for that purpose by their own admission within their own documents. Currently, to the staff comments, they say currently they have 6 people living there, parking there. Do they have a permit from this commissioner, from the city to date? They taught us in the Marine Corps that sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And when you're in a firefight, that's a really good rule. This is not a firefight. This is democracy. They should have come in here and asked for this permit long before they started operating this. You are 1/2 block with a sober living facility from the Rum Lounge. You're 1.5 blocks from the entertainment district. We ask you to deny this permit and to not allow it to take place in this residential setting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I had a couple of cards from the wards, but I'm assuming that the attorney just spoke for the wards. Okay. That's all the cards I have for this. If the applicant would like to come back up and address the concerns of the neighborhood, please. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. There was a support card from Justin Buck. So are you Mr. Buck?
I am.
I'm sorry, I set that one aside. Please state your name and address, please.
My name is Justin Buck. I'm the executive director of the Wolf Street Foundation, located at 1015 Louisiana Street, downtown Little Rock, where we've been serving people in recovery for more than 40 years. I don't have any connection or association to Ms. Tenon or this organization, other than that we serve people in recovery. And I'll begin by thanking you for the reminder that we're not here to talk about people with disabilities, with substance use disorders, who are working to recover from those. We are not here to talk about it, but I'm hearing them stigmatized by the opposition that is coming, making assumptions that the traffic's bad for the neighborhood. Traffic's not bad for the neighborhood. It's very walkable. Are we afraid of the Mount St. Mary's girls parking their cars inappropriately? Of course we're not. We're afraid of the type of traffic that we assume might come to these neighborhoods. I'm incensed by the stigmatization of people in recovery from substance use disorders. Those include people like my sister, who died from her substance use disorder. People like my brother, who recovered from his substance use disorder. People like the hundreds of people that we serve at Wolf Street in recovery from substance use disorder. When we're talking about the appropriate places for sober living homes, where are they? We're talking about traffic. There are parking places. We're talking about occupancy, but this property specifically meets occupancy requirements, square footage requirements for bedrooms, as well as the entire dwelling. It meets national standards for recovery residences, which suggests square footage in bedrooms, which suggests shared dining spaces to create a social model that is conducive for recovery. It suggests a ratio of toilets, showers, and sinks to the number of residents. This property meets all of those requirements. I was a little surprised reading through staff comments that it met those requirements, but was not recommended for approval. Now, I don't mean to be adversarial to individuals, but I do mean to encourage people to think beyond these fears, because when you exclude people from being able to come in, when you kick out specific types of houses that have these supportive environments, you're not keeping those people out of your neighborhood. You're just keeping the services that help them be good neighbors out of your neighborhood. When it comes to safety and security, how much more safe can you be than 24-hour supervision, than regular drug screening, than enforced curfews? That's a safety provision. Drug screening is a safety provision. I'll be careful.
Yeah, you're walking the line here, whether it's not in favor or in favor.
I understand.
When I stated we're not going to talk about disability, I'm in it.
Yeah,
I understand your philosophy of supporting this, and that's great, but that is not what the commissioners are here for. They're looking at intensity of use, public safety, health and welfare, traffic, and those types of things.
How could
so the conversations regarding recovery, they're not going to consider them, and I cautioned everyone, so please.
I understand. Thank you very much. From a safety perspective, there are so many safety measures that are put in place that aren't present at other properties, I would assume, in the neighborhood. So all of these things come around to giving the opportunity for this kind of use, for this kind of property. I was surprised to read that it meets the occupancy standards, it meets national standards for this type of home, and yet we're recommending for denying this request. So thank you for your time. I would invite any conversation on the topic as I'll be here this evening, and our foundation looks forward to engaging in this kind of work in the future. Thank you.
We'll hear from the applicant now. If they...
I had signed an opposition card. I don't know if it got separated, but I was wondering if I would be allowed to speak.
Yeah, let's have the applicant come back up first, and I'm not sure how much time is left on the opponent's side.
The opponents have used 16 minutes and 50 seconds.
Okay, so we'll give you 3 minutes after the applicants come back up.
We're happy to yield additional time if he would like to speak at this time.
Okay, I'll allow him to speak. And then you want to come up after that? Okay. And then we'll have some commission probably questions for you. Okay, sir, come on up and state your name and address. And remember, you've got three minutes.
Thank you. My name is Bob Keltner. I live at 1112 Cavanaugh Boulevard. I represent the Preservation and Planning Committee of the Hillcrest Residents Association. This issue is very concerning to the neighborhood. I know we have a number of neighbors here for this property and a number of neighbors for the next case as well. So I think if you take those collectively, it shows that the whole neighborhood has concern. The big issue is density. As you know, Hillcrest is a historic neighborhood, and a disruption to the density of the streets can cause problems, as you've heard, with traffic and parking and all sorts of things. So it's really kind of like putting an apartment building in the middle of a street with single-family houses. For that reason, we agree with the staff position on this, and I know we're short on time, but thank you for
Thank you very much. Okay, if the applicant would come back up, I'll certainly have an opportunity to address the opposition, and then we'll open it up and see if any commissioners have any questions.
Okay. So with respect to the parking situation, we will concede that on the parking map sent over, there was an error with respect to the no parking zone for parking spots 7 and 8. Currently, the residents do not all have their own vehicle, and we do not anticipate that at any time all residents would have their own vehicle. So we don't think that the parking would be as great of an issue as it is perceived. The maximum number of vehicles that we would anticipate at any given time would be 5 to 6, about 50% of total occupancy for resident vehicles. Did you want to speak on that? No. Okay. With respect to some of the comments with respect to a greater or a more appropriate location, I think Mr. Buck's comments were well received and would be reiterated by the applicant in that regard. Oh, I did want to also reiterate, just to alleviate any additional concerns, we do not accept, the applicant does not accept any residents with a history of violence. These are not parolees or criminals of any nature. So there should be no nuisance to the neighborhood. We do reiterate neighborly behavior, and in the spirit of being neighborly, to the extent that there are any comments with respect to limiting the total number of vehicles, we would be open to those comments. We want this to be a service that we're providing to the community. We would like the community to be invested in the services being provided. And so to the extent that there are comments and ways that we could limit the application, we would be open to that.
Thank you very much. I'll open things up to the commissioners. Before I do that, Commissioner Vogel brought up an important point earlier. This is actually a special use permit, right? It's listed on the regular agenda, a special use permit. Can staff give us, commissioners, just a little primer on it? We don't see special use permit much. Normally it's conditional use permit or plan development. What is a special use permit?
The ordinance allows for special use permits in residential zones primarily. And like conditional use permits, every zoning category has a list of permitted uses and conditional uses. So if you want to apply for a conditional use for an accessory dwelling in a residential zone, the ordinance allows that. Special uses is a separate category of uses. It includes primarily all of your various living facilities, group homes, group care facilities, family care facilities, boarding houses. It also includes home-based daycares. But it's a specific list of uses that can be considered by this commission in residential zones primarily.
Thank you. Questions from commissioners?
I have a quick question to Monty to follow up with that. Once we as a commission vote on a special use or a conditional use permit, it ends at this body. It does not go to the board of directors, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Unless it's appealed. It can be appealed to the board of directors by either an applicant or the opponents or registered objectors.
So I would also draw attention, in addition to what Monty said, that special use permits are not transferable, which means if this applicant is approved and they ever sell the building or cease activity at that location, it would revert back to its residential use. So this is not like a PCD or a PCR where the zoning is changed forever. This special use permit is granted to this applicant for this property for the time that they operate this business at that location.
Other questions? Jimmy.
One quick question to the applicant and then a question for staff. I'm hearing different things. Is this location currently being used for this purpose right now?
Yes. Yes.
It is? Okay, so you're already using it. Question to staff. I'm looking at the zoning map right now. It shows this being part of the Hillcrest Overlay District. Are there any provisions in that would come into play here?
I don't believe so. That the DOD deals primarily with construction, new construction.
Checking, thanks.
I have a couple of questions. I know that first, the ordinance that we're looking at has a presumption in favor of these kinds of special use permits. We are given 6 items to consider. I feel like we've heard about some of them, but I was wondering if there would be comment on one, the condition of the property. We've received some letters about things like tires being stacked up in cars or in the yards. That's one question, is just, can we hear more about the condition of the property? Also, access to public transportation in the area, what kinds of bus lines and things run through there. And then access to needed support services. So what does the surrounding area look like in terms of providing support, with our attorney's caution, but support for these kinds of facilities?
Thank you. So with respect to the condition of the property, my understanding is that some of those concerns, specifically with respect to the tires, is actually not related to this particular property, but a different property that is not up for consideration on tonight's agenda. Kaki, do you want to speak to the current condition of this property?
Excuse me, the gentleman in the hat, are you with them?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to make sure he wasn't posed and just staring you down there.
No, he's good.
Getting in your bubble.
It's in pristine condition. Okay. This property is, the condition is fine. There's nothing in the yard. There's no cars in the yard or tires. We keep it very nice.
So specifically, it's my understanding that Tara Tenon, the applicant, has improved this property from when she acquired it and cleaned it up. I think the prior owner maybe did not leave it in a pristine condition. It was maybe in a state of disrepair. She has made improvements and brought it up to
that's too.
For clarification purposes, you got the applicant's attorney and then the applicant. So you're Ms. Tenon?
No, this is another individual. She works at the facility. Her name is Kaki. Last name?
Kaki Keach.
Okay, thank you very much.
You work at this actual address or at a different facility?
No, I work at this address.
Okay.
I oversee Sunlight, sober living.
Okay. All right. Can you speak to the public transportation available?
Yeah, so the reason that this works in these neighborhoods is because there is access to public transportation and restaurants where these ladies can work, and most of them do work at restaurants in the neighborhood.
So we would also submit that there's a positive impact on the surrounding community in connection with the services that these individuals are able to provide in a working environment, particularly in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, where you don't have as many individuals who are interested in providing support services in roles like waiters or waitresses. These individuals are able to walk to work. Grocery store. They are required to maintain a job. And so we would offer that as support for a positive impact that having these individuals in the neighborhood is providing back to the community.
Other questions from commissioners before we?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How long has this facility been operating, and why not get approval before operating it?
How long have y'all been operating?
Since at this address for 3 years. And we just honestly did not know that we needed approval to do this.
So when did you find out you needed approval?
About in July of last year, we got a phone call.
Yeah, we got a phone call, I think, from the zoning commission sometime in July. I think the gentleman that is right here, so.
Mr. Chair, it was our code enforcement supervisor, Mr. Fimple, that contacted them. So this was an enforcement case, and so they made application to keep from that.
Okay. Other questions?
I don't have any questions, but I guess I'll just make a statement. In reading through this application, I guess I'm faced with why we're here as commissioners. Our opinions don't matter. What matters is the zoning ordinance, and according to staff's own analysis, this property meets the burden of proof for the ordinance, and for myself, I'm in support of it.
Has there been any issues in the 3 years that this business has been in operation?
Not that we're aware of.
I think that's my concern. Is this a business or is this a residence? Are y'all making money off of the tenants? Is it a multifamily unit?
This is passion. This is passion for providing this. There's not a.
So
we're not in a profitable position
in this home?
We're not in a profitable position at this point in time.
I mean, you depreciate the building asset, you take in revenue, you run it as a business. Okay.
Commissioner Vogel, were you asking, was it a for-profit or non-profit business? Were you asking?
Well, I mean, just meaning if this is a not-for-profit business, meaning, they are doing 100% charity work. I mean, they're not taking in people who can't pay rent. Y'all are asking them to pay rent, correct?
Correct, but this is, although it's not organized as a nonprofit organization, it's not seeking, tax exemption.
Right.
The business model is not to make money. The business model for Ms. Tenon is to provide a service to the community that she feels passionate about.
I got it. Okay. Staff, could you remind us of your recommendation and sort of what was driving that?
Well, just to remind the commission, the recommendation were denial, and it was based upon the intensity of the use. If I remind the commission, this is within single-family residential zones. We count, even though the square footage is in there for occupancy, typically for so many residents, a family living at home is 4 individuals that are not related to, can live in a single family home. After that, it's family. You typically not see that number of cars at a single family residential use. And so that was the increase, and that was the concern for that location.
I got a question for.
Yes, sir.
And that's significant. If they were to defer or wanted to come back and amend it, their file for a reasonable number, let's just say 4 or 5, is that something we'll take into consideration for the staff's approval?
I can't give you specific, but that would, any reduction would take, the staff would take that in reconsideration of their recommendation.
Thank you.
I do want to note that the ordinance says that any 4 individuals that are not related by blood or marriage are not required to have a special use permit.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? I think we can, ready for a motion, and we always make motions in the positive, again, for those new commissioners. So a motion will be made for approval of this item, and that's how we make all the motions. So a yes vote means yes, we approve it. No vote means no, we don't. Staff has recommended denial. So when you vote for approval, you'll have to make a comment regarding their comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve item 17Z-9892, except for the recommendation of denial.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion from commissioners only? Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Thrower.
Baxter?
No.
Brown?
No.
Hodges?
I want to be clear. I don't support this thing. How am I going to vote?
No.
No. Yeah. So.
Landay?
No.
McDonald?
No.
Person?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Samad?
No.
Vogel?
No.
Vickers?
Yes.
Hart?
No.
Motion fails.
Motion fails. Thank you very much. I think we're going to jump right into another one of these homes. We know the applicant is here for item number 18. So have the reading on item of number 18, Monty.
Item 18, file number Z9891, Tenon Group Home 2, special use permit, 205 North Woodrow Street. The applicant is requesting a special use permit to allow for a group home facility to be operated in an existing 2-story single-family residence. The proposed group home will have a maximum of 14 residents, including 1 to 2 house managers at any given time. Staff does not support special use permit as requested. Staff believes the total number of 14 residents proposed is too intense for the single-family residence and will create an increase in traffic and parking that is not in character with the surrounding residences. Staff feels the proposed use, number of occupants, and increased traffic will have an adverse impact on the area. And staff recommends denial of the requested special use permit.
Thank you. We have a number of cards in opposition. Do you wish to defer and hear those first? Okay. Remember our time limit is 20 minutes total. I have 6 cards in opposition, so be cognizant of that as you're making your comments. And then I have 1 card in support, and that is Mr. Buck. And Mr. Buck will allow you to come up and speak again if you wish to on item number 18. Scott Daniel.
Hello. Commissioners, thank you for the time. And congratulations to Commissioner Vickery for his new position coming up. I live on North Woodrow Street. I've actually lived there, I guess, going maybe 24 years now. And so I'm very familiar with the street. I'm very familiar with the deaf and blind school that is right adjacent to the east side of our houses. I live on the west side of it. 4 children, and my youngest is fully disabled, has muscular dystrophy, and so we're full-time wheelchairs. So for myself, and we do have husband and wife that are actually blind that live on the street as well, that, of course, I'm gravely concerned about the traffic flow. I must tell you, for living there for so long, I know the traffic pattern pretty well. This red PT Cruiser used to drive through for about 6 years in a row. They worked at Pulaski Bank up in the Heights, and they cut through that street because of Stiff Station. I don't know if you've had a chance to go by and see this facility and see the road itself, but of course, it's a beautiful street. It's of course, got the great trees. It's historic Hillcrest, and the residents in this residential area is frankly quite impressive. We really literally know each other, and so I can tell you that I personally have spoken to over 29 of my neighbors that oppose it, and for multiple reasons. But truly, I don't know the gentleman's name that was hard of hearing, but he made some really great points. I wish I knew his name. And then, of course, Mr. Keltner, who with the Hillcrest Society, that said that they oppose it as well. So I just really appreciate your time and your consideration, and I appreciate the staff already stating that they are not in favor of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Keltner, now I know why your card wasn't in the stack for number 17, because you have 2 cards for number 18. So
Sorry about that.
That's okay. You're speaking in opposition to item number 18 as well.
You heard my comments earlier. I think once again, the big issue, 14 people in one house in the middle of a single family residence street. That's the real big concern here. So I know other people want to speak, so I'll
Thank you very much. Greg Wilson, 120 North Woodrow.
Hi, my name is Greg Wilson, and I live at 120 North Woodrow, and my father bought this property back in 1963, and I've since inherited it. And I have noticed something that I didn't know this was a group home until recently from this letter that I received. And I've noticed some more cars parked, and the traffic has been an issue. So I just wanted to say that, I'm a big supporter of group homes because I have a brother that's been in and out of them for decades. So I have no problem with that, but this is just the wrong location for a group home. They do go in they should belong in not in single family home residences. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine Liu.
Hi, my name is Catherine Liu. I live at 204 North Woodrow Street, right across from this big, lovely home. My feelings are sort of a combination of Ms. Sanchez, who spoke earlier about being located next to the convenience store, and her children and the traffic and what she was concerned about there. Combination of her feelings, and then also the gentleman who spoke on behalf of the neighbors of Monroe Street. I'm not as eloquent as either of them, but when I listened to both of them, I thought, yes, that is what I think. That is how I feel as well. About this home in particular, I have 3 points that I'm opposed to. One is just the number of cars. Ms. Gill said that for the North Monroe Street, it'd probably only be about 50% of the occupants. If you apply that to this, that's 7 cars. That's a lot of cars. And additionally, we have no parking on one side of our street. So that's a lot of cars when you can only park on half of the street. And I don't want to change that because it's hard enough for emergency vehicles to get through right now. The other thing is that 14 people is way too dense. This is a single family home. It's not designed to have 14 people crammed into it. The third thing is the traffic. And I think that a feature that applies particularly to this home is that we're located right next to the deaf and blind schools. And the children that are at the blind school practice on our street with their canes. We've got crummy sidewalks, horrible corners, all that kind of stuff, but it could be potentially very dangerous. Most of all of the people who live on the street are aware of this. We support the deaf and blind school and this practice, but we need to be really cautious. And the more cars that we add, people, particularly people who aren't familiar with the blind children learning to use the canes, it becomes very dangerous for them. So those are the three reasons that I'm opposed to this particular permit. I had really had two questions that have not been answered yet. And I don't know if the answers actually make a difference or not to the permit, but they are things that have not been clear. I don't think this is a home. I think this is a business. And I think it's a for-profit business. And regardless of, I'm very passionate about what I do. I love my job, but I also am interested in paying my mortgage and making a profit. I don't think that makes me a bad person. So I don't question anyone's passion, but I do think that this is a business. And my second question is, I wonder why this is being requested now when people have been living in this home since May of 2021. That just seems, for lack of a better word, a little squirrely to me. In terms of the purpose of this, I'm not opposed to that. I'm opposed to the density. And I want to be very cautious. I'm respecting what you've said, but I want to sort of push back on any accusations that we're concerned about that, because that's not a concern. It's just the density of the people, density of the number of the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Those two questions that you alluded to, one, I think we did establish that it was a business. And secondly, you were talking about why now, and I think code enforcement brought this up. So that's why the application has been submitted to the Planning Commission now because of a code enforcement.
Well, then that begs the follow-up question, why wasn't it done properly in the first place?
Yeah, the applicant can address that.
Well,
Jamie, you want to say something?
She answered it, but she didn't address it.
Okay.
Well, I want to just make it clear for the commissioners so that you understand what happens when enforcement goes out, and also anybody in the room. But when we say it's code enforcement, we do go out and provide notice. They're given a 7-day notice to cease operations, they're not zoned properly, or seek remedy. What is before you is a remedy. So as they are hearing through the Planning Commission and all the way through any type of enforcement, if it does go to the Board of Directors, then enforcement is paused as they seek the remedy until a determination is made. Once a determination is made, if approved or denied, then the enforcement would either continue or would halt based upon what the outcome of the decision of the commission or board is made. So I just wanted to bring that to your knowledge.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Okay, one final card in opposition, Jay Wills.
Good afternoon. I'm Jay Wills. I live at 128 North Woodrow, where I've lived for the last 30 years. I've watched the neighborhood grow and flower with children. All I can tell you is if you drop 14 adult people and 10 cars in a single family home in that neighborhood, you will destroy the character of our neighborhood. I don't want that to happen. That's all I have to say. I urge you to follow the staff's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one card in support. Mr. Buck, you spoke earlier. Would you like to speak again?
My name is Justin Buck. I'm the executive director of the Wolf Street Foundation at 1015 South Louisiana Street, downtown Little Rock. Just again, reading this application and the staff recommendation, I wonder why in the world we would have square footage guidelines if we're not going to consider that, as Commissioner Russell said, the burden of proof that a special use permit, hearing that some of these things or this occupancy or these parking situations are not typical. Of course there is some of these things are not typical, which is why a special use permit would be needed. But I would urge the commission, if we're going to not consider the square footage guidelines, in these situations being met, maybe that policy needs to be reconsidered. I would also say that, hearing about concerns about altering the character of neighborhoods and learning that people have been living in these homes for this purpose for a number of years, and many folks are only now becoming aware that that operation is happening, what other impact could be made in those neighborhoods. and can empathize with the earlier comment that we believe that people being able to live in neighborhoods like this, participate in the citizenship of that neighborhood, participate in employment in that community, and participate in community itself is very important for any kind of group home, no matter what the purpose is. I will say from a standpoint of a nonprofit who works in the recovery space, following recovery housing across the country, that I'm not surprised to learn that people are unaware that there are zoning requirements, et cetera, given that people with disabilities enjoy protections under the law. Because many programs across the country are not aware of any other requirements. So I would applaud in this case the applicant for seeking the correct remedy when they were made aware of that problem. And I would suggest to you that there are probably a lot of these types of operations happening throughout the city who are unaware of this requirement for a special use permit. That's all I have now. I would urge the commission to approve these or to discuss in greater detail how to deal with these kind of things in the future, make these services available. And from that standpoint, by the way, that being one of the conditions to be considered is supportive services in the area, that supportive services are available on public transportation lines that are convenient to this property and other properties that have been mentioned that bring people to all kinds of resources for all kinds of challenges that they may be facing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bugg. Does the applicant have any other comments they'd like to address, or do commissioners have any questions of the applicant?
I have one question for the applicant.
Yes, ma'am.
What is to happen if this does not get approved? What is to happen with the residents? What's going to happen? I just wanted to kind of get some information about what is to happen to the people that are there currently, since it's already operating.
Yeah, that's a good question. So after pursuing all legal remedies available to the applicant, we would have to, if it was ultimately denied, obviously these folks would have to relocate to another residence or living facility if that was the ultimate determination.
Is there currently a facility that they can be relocated to, or what amount of time would that take?
Hi there, my name is Jason Jones. I am the director of Sunlight along with Khaki. We co-direct together. I'm a manager. I also live in the house. And the help the house provides can't go unshared by me, because when I sobered up 15 years ago, there were no houses like this available. And if I would have heard from the residents behind me, that kind of support was frowned upon, I probably wouldn't have gotten sober. So it's a little personal. It's personal to the owner. We want to be under the grace of the residents that live around us. We want to achieve and give back as they are sharing and showing us how to live a better life. And so we try to, at Sunlight, live by example. With your question, yeah, there are a few homes. They're on the east side of Little Rock. They're roach infested. They're out of compliance. They're not wanting to be compliant. They are one-bedroom houses with an affixed garage closed in with 5 men in the garage and 3 men in that single bedroom. So where are our residents going to go? I assure you, the love and compassion that the owner has, she'll make sure that they go somewhere where they're wanted and loved. Yeah, She just wants the place to be able to support itself and to have a legacy after she's gone. Man, what a heart. We want to be and do whatever we can to prove to the residents that we gently want to live under their grace and will be compliant in whatever they ask of us. Traffic, I can speak to the traffic. Unfortunately, there's an entrance into the blind school by way of that street where bus, staff, and people that live at the blind school access and deaf school, live at that or go up and down our street. And so currently I have 5 cars. I'm at full capacity and I have 5 resident cars there. I've never seen as many cars as residents there. When you first start out, you're broke, busted, and disgusted, and you've had very little. You've burnt all your bridges, and you're just willing to turn your will and life over to the care of someone else for us to guide them to resources that the city of Little Rock already has. Wolf Street Foundation, the compassion centers that they have, and recovery centers of Arkansas. I mean, there are resources that are directly surrounding our area, and the bus system, the transit system, it just made sense. And the thought process is we could do something that was good. We would have never thought the residents would be upset. And then I want to apologize for anyone. I live there at the house, and if anyone here has any questions, I would love to talk with you. And we want to mend the brokenhearted, and we're not here to cause any. So we're not wanting to cause any dissension or anything among the people that we live with.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners?
I have a question. So how many residents are currently living at this facility?
We have beds, we have
14 residents. You say you have 12 beds and 10 current occupants?
Yes.
Are you expecting to get 2 more beds?
I have a bed, but it has been dismantled. So I'm not counting that as a current bed.
I'm so sorry, but I live right next door to this facility. I got here too late to put in a comment card. I requested to have a comment card put in, was told politely that you couldn't.
Okay, well.
For somebody else, but I literally live 30 feet from where all this goes on. So it's very difficult to listen to all this go through, especially when you gave the talk on the front end about the fact that we were going to keep this about traffic and density. And Mr. Buck and Mr. Fine folks have talked exclusively about their mission. Is that what we're discussing? No one has any problem with their mission.
Yeah,
Like you also know from this type of.
Okay, this is the applicant's time now. We may have time for someone else to speak. I did that on the last one, so we may do that on this one. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant at this point?
So the last location at Monroe Street was in business for about 3 years. How long has this location been in business?
We moved into the residence in March of 2021.
Okay, has there been any issues since that time?
I had a guy that had a heart condition that we called paramedics. I mean, other than What issues are you referring to?
Any issues where there has been any particular vandalism, any issues with the neighborhood, having any issues with the residents that stay there?
Well, no, we've been stolen from, but this is because it's a transient area, because it's close to West Markham.
Okay.
I have a question for the applicant.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Baxter.
Have neighbors ever come to you and complained or expressed concerns before this hearing, before notification was sent out?
I was aware that, not that I'm aware of, when we first opened, we invited the residents to come in to tour, and a lady doctor up the road had come in, and she was impressed by how nice the facility, I say facility, it's not a facility, it's a home. And so that is what we want it to be.
I just want to say for the record, I do greatly respect and admire what you all are doing, and I think this is a crucial issue to be explored in another forum. But we also have to pay attention to the neighborhoods and the community. So is there anything that you would say that distinguishes this property from the one that we just discussed on North Monroe?
5 cars is what you're talking about. And we have access from a back road that we can limit the car's use, and from the current existing owners that have access to the road in question. So we have the ability, unlike the North Monroe Street, to be able to have a second entrance, and then actually just limit the use by the owner or myself in using the front of the road, I guess. I mean, we're open to finding a solution. If the traffic is the issue, we can then limit the number of vehicles being able to access that road.
Are you talking about the back alley behind the property?
Yes, ma'am.
Only one car can fit through that alley. I've driven back there, and you have to have a small vehicle to even get back there, because in the summers it gets growed up. Are you saying that your driveway leads to that back alley?
Yes, ma'am.
But no cars would be parked. You're not going to use that for parking. You're just saying as a through, like to get through from Woodrow to go out to Markham?
So respectfully, living there for the last 2 years, there's actually ample parking and access for someone to be, because the actual residents, next door neighbors and stuff, use it on both of sides of the property to not only park back there, but they also use that as their driveway. So would we not be able to use it the same, just in front of our own property?
I was thinking that you were trying to use that as additional parking. I was trying to clarify what you were saying.
Just as our own physical driveway, we would be able to concede to the actual other residents' open front road on North Woodrow. So it is an option, and there is ample parking in the back that is directly behind the resident.
Yeah, I think commissioners, I will, and I'm going to ask for a motion on this, and I think it depends on whom you ask. When we start talking about, well, have there been any issues, or is there ample parking? If you ask the applicant, you're going to get a positive response. If you ask those who oppose, you'll get a negative response. My issue is strictly about the parking. And honestly, if this were, and so that's why I opposed item 17, and I'm going to oppose this one too, but it's really just about 14 residents in what I consider a small footprint of a Hillcrest home. And most Hillcrest homes, to be honest, have trouble parking just a family of 4 or 5. If this were in a different part of town with a sprawling driveway and a circular, and you could park 8 or 9 cars on the property itself, I would have a different opinion of this. But we keep getting questions about the parking, and there's just a limited, and I think really that's staff's concern too, major concern. So, yes, sir, Jimmy.
Got 2 questions to the applicant. Number 1, did I hear you say in your initial presentation that this was part of the recovery center down on Roosevelt Road?
No, that was something that someone in opposition pointed out. This is
Okay.
entirely separate from the recovery.
But is it in any way related to you guys?
Tenon, the applicant, owns that business.
Okay, that's
but
what I was trying to get clarity on.
It's
Number 2, again, no one questions the mission. For personal reasons I won't disclose here. I'm a big believer in what you guys do. But the intensity, which is what we have to consider, is important. Is there any willingness on the part of the applicant to reduce the intensity of the number of people living in the facility at some point? I mean, that's what I'm hearing the most from the community, and that's what I hear from staff.
We would certainly entertain any suggestions with respect to what the commission would consider to not be overly intense.
Yeah, I just want to say something real quick. I mean, I don't think anybody on this board will refute the mission and the good work I think that this entity is doing. However, I mean, the last one was 11, now it's 14, and it's really hard for me to wrap my hand around it. I mean, I'm trying, but it's very difficult for me. I mean, and if this was just considered on the mission, I mean, that'd be a go, but this board is here strictly for the well-being of the community, traffic concerns, safety, well-being. That's what we're here for, right? So I know it's tough to channel this, but I mean, we have to look at the things that this board is designed to do. And unfortunately, I mean, it gets tough when you have, these issues that are red flags for me. So it's tough to support that.
You want to make a motion?
Yeah, I just want to make a motion here.
Yeah, well, I think we're at a point where we're past talking about those types of issues. Would you make a motion, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry, ma'am. If you will, we want to respect everybody's time, and we want to respect the other agenda items that we have on the list. If you would like to speak maybe after the meeting, that's so. But Mr. Chair, if you will, I would like to make a motion to approve item 18, 7-9891, except for the recommendation of denial.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Thrower, roll call vote, please.
Baxter?
Mr. Chairman, before you do that, did you want to make a statement since the staff did not recommend this for approval, meaning a yes, you're for it, a no, you're against it?
No.
Brown?
No.
Hodges?
I used to own a couple of these homes, and I fully support the mission. I think this is in the wrong place, so I will not support this.
Lunday?
No.
McDonald?
No.
Person?
No.
Russell?
Yes.
Samad?
No.
Vogel?
No.
Vickers?
No.
Hart?
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, thank you. Move on to item 26. Before we do that, let's take just a 5-minute recess. 5 minutes for the commissioners to take a quick break, and then we'll move on to item number 26.
Thank you, sir.
26.
Heather.
Seated, please, if you will.
Yes, yeah. It wears on you.
Is the applicant for item number 26 present? Applicant for item number 26 present.
I want you to understand this.
Attention, ladies and gentlemen, we are restarting the meeting. Attention. Ladies and gentlemen, we are restarting the meeting.
There you go.
Wow.
Is the applicant for number 26 present?
Like you mean it.
If they, okay, we'll go ahead and have the reading for item number 26, Arbors Development. Monty.
Mr. Chair, before I read that, your next three items are short-term rentals. I've got just a statement for the commission, information regarding short-term rentals. Currently, the City of Little Rock Department of Planning and Development has 35 short-term rentals, STR 1s and 2s, listed within the database for approved short-term rentals within the city. City's new short-term rental ordinance allows a maximum of 500 within the boundary of Little Rock. We've got about 15 to 20 pending before the board, and you've, so far tonight, you've approved 17 or 18. Item number 26, file number Z8116A, Arbors Development, Lot 1AR, Block 50, original City of Little Rock, STR2, revised PDR, 301 East 15th Street. The applicant proposes to rezone this property from PDR to a revised PDR to allow use of the property as a short-term rental, 2 with a maximum stay of 29 days. The owner will not reside at the residence, and the entire structure will be rented as one unit. Staff recommends denial of the requested PDR zoning.
Okay, if you will state your name. There are no cards in opposition, but we'll get some, we'll have a question or two of staff as to why they're recommending denial on this one. And if you would state your name and just tell us a little bit about your development. Thanks.
My name is Tasha Rapella, and we are wanting to rent it primarily on Airbnb to guests as a short-term rental to allow people access to the home to stay. Like you said, it's a minimum of 2 nights right now, and the max that they typically book is about a week. Yeah, just renting it as a short-term rental in there and giving them access. The only thing they don't have access to is the back driveway and the garage.
Thank you. Any questions of commissioners? I would ask staff, you've got a recommendation of denial on this one, so any particular concerns you want to highlight on why that recommendation came about?
Again, this property is zoned PDR, which is a planned development. It was approved in 2006 by the commission and city board. The planned development took a piece of property about the size of a typical single-family lot, subdivided it into 3 relatively small single-family lots. Staff believes that the planned development with the small lots is the appropriate use for the property, and introducing a commercial use on one of these lots is not appropriate.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant at this time? Oh, yes, Ms. Russell.
I don't have any questions of the applicant. I'm going to make a statement. I live in this neighborhood. I'm very familiar with these 3 houses. They're all new, sort of bland, traditional homes. There is ample parking on 15th Street. To operate this as an Airbnb is a no-brainer. It is not going to be an issue for the neighborhood. As you can see, there's not even anybody here in opposition of it. I'm fully in support of this application.
Yes, sir. Mr. Vogel.
Where do you live? Do you live near here?
So I did reside at the house with my family, but we just recently moved to Nashville for my partner's travel nurse contract.
Okay, so how will y'all manage it from afar?
We have a property manager that manages it, and then we manage the app on Airbnb.
Other questions?
Motion. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion here for item 26, Z-8116-A, recommendation for approval, except for the recommendation of denial.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Thrower, roll call vote.
Baxter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Hodges?
No.
Lunday,
No.
McDonald,
No.
Person,
Yes.
Russell,
Aye.
Samad,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Your item's approved. Thank you. Next item on our agenda tonight. By the way, how's the weather outside? We were supposed to get storms. Is anybody?
Not raining yet.
Not raining yet. Okay.
Late tonight.
As long as it doesn't hail, we're okay. All right. Item number 47. Jensen Short-Term Rental 2. Is that applicant here? Great. If you will approach the podium while Mr. Moore reads us out, please.
Item 47, file number Z9908, Jensen 2 STR2 PDC, located at 1219 Marlin Drive. The applicant proposes to rezone this property from R2 to PDC to allow use of the property as short-term rental 2 with a maximum stay of 29 days. The owner will not reside at the residence. The entire structure will be rented as one unit. Staff is supportive of the application, and staff recommends approval of the STR2 PDC, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Okay. If you'll state your name and you can talk a little bit about your short-term rental, and I do have 3 cards in opposition, and we can you can address their concerns if you want to defer until after they speak.
Okay, I'll take a moment to do an introductory statement, and then I'll hold my time to respond to the opposition. So my name is Andrew Jensen, and thank you all for the time to speak to you. My wife and I are part owners and the operators of this short-term rental. We live less than 10 minutes away in Midtown, and we visit the property regularly, sometimes multiple times a week, to check on things, replace consumables like paper products, trash bags. We provide small amount of snacks for our guests. We do have a camera on the premises to keep an eye on the coming and goings of our guests. And more importantly, we ensure that there are never any unapproved social gatherings, let alone parties. That's, as any short-term renter operator will tell you, we're trying to avoid that just as much as the residents around us. I'm happy to say that we have not had a single instance of guests being disruptive. This is based on what we've been able to see from our camera, as well as speaking to our sweet next-door neighbor, Norma. She has lived in the neighborhood for decades, been there for a very long time, and we've been operating for over a year before this summer, when the requirements for registering the STR2 came up. She's had lots of time next to this operation, and she had no complaints of what was going on. So we are careful to screen our potential bookings, and our guests are typically med students, traveling nurses, families receiving medical care, and those traveling for work. To be clear, this is, if you have a good arm, you could hit Baptist Hospital with a rock from the driveway. It's just down the road and across Canis, and you are on to Baptist Hospital's campus. So guests typically stay for a couple weeks. We've had some guests stay for a few months. So generally, that's the average duration of stay for our guests. My wife and I are Little Rock natives. We take a lot of pride in bringing value to our visitors staying in the city of Little Rock. We strive to provide an excellent experience. In order to share with our guests the things we love about Little Rock, we have a welcome book and a couple brochures just to point people to great restaurants and other attractions that the city has to offer. I'd like to read a few quotes from our reviews just to demonstrate that we are succeeding in this goal of providing value and a welcoming home. From Herald in December, this was the perfect location and size for my family of 5 to stay while our family member was having heart surgery. Shannon, not this January, but past January, said this was an amazing place to stay. It is well named as the retreat. It has beautiful interiors, comfy beds. The kitchen has great appliances and plenty of room for making meals to serve a family. The fenced backyard is also a big plus for the kids. We stayed because of a beloved family member hospitalized at Baptist. The location was perfect to be restful, welcoming, and cozy, as well as be so close to both the hospital and amazing restaurants and attractions. Goes on to name a few of those, but in the interest of time, I'll just read one more. Shoni, in this past September, said, "Fantastic house, quiet location. We loved our girls' weekend at Marlin's retreat. It was the perfect size for our party of 4. Check-in was easy and well communicated. The amenities were exactly as advertised, and the sweet touches made you feel at home. Super close to everything in West Little Rock and would happily stay again." So with that, I'd like to reserve the remainder of my time to respond to comments from my opposition as well as questions potentially from the commissioners. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, 3 cards, Lot Johnson. Yes, sir, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation to come here. Is it proper for me to ask him a question? You say it's a family that stays there? I mean, currently, is it a family staying there?
Yes.
Okay, all right, let's get it straight. Okay, I've been living on Marlin for over 20 years. It's a family atmosphere. We getting some things lining out. He done made it out of construction firm. A double park, 25-foot to 30-foot trailers, lumber, 2x4s, double parking on the grass, dualies. You know the dualies with the big pipe? He got a loud muffler on it with a big pipe. Am I right or wrong? A white dually? Was hooked to a trailer last night? Well, that's not a family. It's about family. And the lady that you're talking about, if she's sober, she might not sit there. Are you carrying a liquor over there? So I disapprove of that because, and then, okay, Marlin's one of the longest street it is in Little Rock, approximately a mile long. It runs north and south. Okay, when you come off of Canis, if you go into Canis, if you're headed westbound, you make a left. Go up probably about 600 feet. He on the left, 1912, let me see, I guess 1912 is on the left.
1219, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 1219, it's on the left. Okay, last night, did you have about a 35-foot trailer?
Okay.
Double parked. Okay, sir,
Talk to us. I'm fearing if you're, don't address him, just address us if you don't mind.
Had a 25 to 30 feet trailer full of lumber, double parked. One parked on the grass, not in the driveway, on the grass. This has been going on. And then this sign by Planning Commission, only been in the window approximately 6 months. He been over there, been over there over a year. It's a construction, when they raised to the up in the driveway, when they raised the thing up to the house, all types of lumber, saws and everything. He making a warehouse out of it and trash. So you trash in the neighborhood. Only thing that will do is keep your taxes up and the property value goes down. We don't want that. We don't want that. Why can't, okay, you can get the same thing with 72205 out to Cherry Creek. You can go to Port West, even the Heights. Why, I mean, if you want to have a working atmosphere, nothing wrong with that. If you're making money, you're making a profit. But all this family thing that he's talking about, he's very, very incorrect. Incorrect. I live there. He does too, and other people does too. We've been monitoring this. We have called Mr. Harshaw, which he's sitting down on the job. He know about it, and everything. And so he is stating incorrect to get what he want to get out of this, which he's not telling the truth. Just as sure as I was raised from a dead level to a perpendicular square, he's incorrect on this, very incorrect. And I yield to my other partner here.
Okay, I have a card from Michael Tappan and Clester Dacker. Are you one of those two?
Michael Tappan.
Okay, Michael, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Michael Tappan. I live on the street as well. I've been there about 20 years. And the thing we want to do is keep the neighborhood a family environment, family homes. We don't want to turn it into a commercial thing where you got a lot of, like I say, traffic, all the double parking, you blocking other neighbors' driveways and all that type of stuff. That's what we're trying to keep it simple so our neighborhood can keep growing with families and stuff like that. That's the main objective of why we're here.
Okay, thank you, Michael. One more card. Is it Cluster? Am I getting that correct? Cluster, D-A-K-E-R? They may not be here. Okay. If the applicant would like to come back up and address the concerns of the neighbors, and then commissioners, I'll open it up for questions of the applicant.
All right, I just want to make sure I'm addressing the relevant parts. Your main concerns was the number of vehicles being parked in the yard, is that correct? Or on the premises?
Yeah, we don't want the property value.
Property value.
Also, why don't you rent a warehouse?
Yeah, if you'll just, just address us and
yes.
the things that he mentioned specifically, and I think vehicles were a big issue, parking in the grass and parking on the street.
Yes. That's a concern, because when you double park, okay, the street going north and south, it's on the left side, and when you park it like that with a 30-feet trailer like it was last night, the school bus let the kids out. They come in.
Yes, sir.
Sir, we had the police to monitor that, because when they come up the stop sign over the hill, they fly. They flying, and one of these kids gonna get killed. I told the mayor last year about this type of thing.
Okay,
It's in minutes. Check it out.
thank you. We'll let the applicant address the parking concerns and.
Yes, okay. I do want to apologize to these residents for what's been going on. We have had issues before with people parking in the yard. We do try to monitor that closely from the camera. Obviously, we failed to do that properly. You said last night, sir?
You're making a warehouse out. You got 30 trailers, sir, with lumber there. It ain't no family that you was talking about.
If you keep having dialogue with him, we're not.
Apologies. Okay.
Getting anywhere.
Yes, sir. So yes, we do have all types of people. Sometimes those are people here to work. Sometimes those are construction crews, in which case we do have rules about where they are allowed to park. Parking is allowed on the street. The double parking is obviously illegal, and that should not be going on. I would be happy to get the number of these residents who have the concerns so we can be more prompt in addressing issues that are going on. But we do have a very long driveway that can allow up to 3 vehicles, 1 for each bedroom in the house, as well as there's parking in front of the house. The house is located there are 4 houses from Canis. So generally, there's very little traffic added to the neighborhood as far as cars driving down streets, because people will be coming directly off Canis, past 4 houses, and then they're at our residence 1219 Marlin.
Okay. Do you have a garage or a carport?
We do have a garage, yes.
So you have a garage. Is that a 2-car garage?
1-car garage.
Well, you have a 1-car garage and then a driveway that will park 2 to 3 cars.
Yes, if it's something like 4 F-150s, I don't think 3 F-150s would fit in the driveway, but generally it can fit 3 vehicles.
Okay, any questions from commissioners? Jimmy.
The gentleman whose name I forget, he said something about there being trucks parked with lumber. Are you allowing residents who you said some are construction workers to park commercial construction vehicles near there or as part of their stay?
Commercial construction vehicles, would that count as like an F-150 with a trailer?
Well, what he's talking about, what I heard, and I'm open to being corrected, was talking about trailers with lumber, and it sounded like building parts and stuff. Is that allowed in this location? Because that's very different than, say, having an Airbnb where you've got, a couple of trucks. Okay, that's normal. But if you're parking like, materials are stored there, what insight can you offer on that, please?
Yes, we don't explicitly have anything against the house rules. I wasn't aware that was a concern, but we would be happy to make amends to that and make sure that does not happen. We can make it very explicit in our introductory message to guests that that sort of vehicle and arrangement is not appropriate at our residence. I do want to emphasize, obviously there's been issues with construction crews, but there have been lots and lots of other guests who don't fit that description at all, and then other people here for work who don't even drive a truck. So I do just want to make sure that it's not construed that this is the primary use of this house, because it's not.
You have a one-car garage. Is this garage currently full of supplies or is it empty?
Yes, right now we do have some materials in the garage that's preventing anyone from parking in there. I'm not to get into too much detail, I am working on getting those materials removed. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Other questions? All right. Entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to approve number 47, item number Z-9908, for approval of the PDC zoning request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted within.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Mr. Thrower.
Baxter?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Okay, we've already made are you wanting to counter something that he?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we've already made a motion and are voting at this point. I'm sorry.
But you gave everybody else 20 minutes, and the folks before them, you gave them.
Neither party here has used 20 minutes. You had the same amount of time that he had, so.
No, sir, we didn't have the same time. We haven't been there 20 minutes.
No, you haven't been there 20 minutes. You've had the same amount of time as the applicant has.
Well, if what did he on revoke something that he said was not true? It's very important. This is our home. This is not a property.
Okay.
Sir, I'm sorry, sir. We have up to 20 minutes for oppositions and for people that are affirmative on it. So when you were up here at the podium, then you had time to speak. So the way it's working is this is not the court of law. So we're not going back and forth. So it's not that you can rebuttal.
You have time to speak, sir. He had time to speak. This other gentleman here. So I shared the time with him. So he spoke the first time. You let him come, and he wasn't accurate on the second time.
Yeah, that's the process by which
everybody that signed a card got to speak if they were here. If they were not here at the point of time, then we move forward.
The last case, these folks came back and forth because the gentleman in the dark, we can't hardly see that.
Yes, and that was before the motion. So once we make a motion, then everybody has spoke.
We didn't know that. We did not know that. If I had known that, I would have asked, waived my.
Okay, to our attorney, can we undo this motion and let this man speak?
Yes.
That's what I want to do. Okay.
Yeah, please.
We'll retract the motion. I don't know how much time is left, but we'll let, I guess we'll have a rebuttal of the things that he just said. So, sorry, was it Mr. Johnson?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Johnson, come on back up to the podium. I want everybody to be heard here. We're not trying to stifle anybody's opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. But if you're not concerned about the bus coming in, letting the kids out in the middle of the street when they almost got hit. We had watched this. We told the mayor about this last year. They had been there over a year before he even put the sign in the window for the planning commission. Is that the way to do things? Is that illegal or legal? Okay, he started out telling y'all about a family atmosphere, people's in and out. He omitted about this construction and stuff all up in there. He can't raise the garage door because he got all kind of things up in there, saws, whatever. And the tote on the back end of the dually, he said two pickup trucks possibly can get in there. I have a Ford F-150 myself. But he parked up in the driveway, one dually up in the driveway, one on the grass, and one last night with a 25-foot trailer with lumber on it. Do that sound like a family? And then right now you gonna say yes to that? Please, that's totally wrong. And I'm telling you the truth, but you do it the way you want it. If that's not favoritism,
Okay, we've established that there was a pickup truck with a trailer
no, sir.
at a point.
It's a dually. It's a heavy big with a
Yeah.
tote on the back with chemicals in it.
Right, okay.
That's a totally different thing. You're making the neighborhood out of instead of you, these other folks who just left here, we listen to this. This is a crying shame that you're going to pass justice on our neighborhood and give presents with people with high market value. We all are the same, no different in color, no different in nothing to God. When you tell the truth for everybody. No favoritism. This guy here, I don't hate him or dislike him. It's about money to him. And he started out telling you about the people's there, which is untrue. He didn't mention no construction or anything. Then he said if the trucks was there, and then you approved that right off the bat, that's totally wrong. But you can do what you want to do because you got power right there.
Okay.
But you won't prevail. You will not prevail. The truth is
You can appeal.
catch out a lie at any time. I don't see why you would make a ruling like that. Why can't you move and buy a warehouse? You try to save
Okay,
money.
sir, it's simple. We're the planning commission. You can appeal this to the city board if you wish, if in fact we even approve it. No, we haven't taken a vote yet, so, okay, Mr. Vickers, will you restate your motion, please?
All right. Do I need to restate it, or is it?
Quick question.
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson, what's your address again, sir?
1423 Marlin Drive.
So you're about, what, couple blocks down?
No, sir.
Okay.
Approximately a half a block.
Got it.
I do that 3 times a day.
And did you, just curious, and then, sir, was that Mr. Lynn, your last name?
Mine?
Yes, sir.
Tappan,
got it. Were you all aware that this was used as a short-term rental before notice was provided?
We had took a survey on it, talked to some people.
Yes, sir.
But they was using it as that before it came up to that, so we can call in on it and find out exactly what it was. But why would you get your business started, then go and get a planning thing in order to get favoritism from the commission? That's what it's about. I mean, be honest about it. I didn't say that you were gonna give him favoritism, but that's what it was about, which was illegal. Now, if you want to do things right, you would have came in the community and said, we're going to move in, we're going to do this, do y'all object to this, do you do that, like some have tried. And you know, that's what right way to do things if you're telling the truth. But you started out telling everybody, you got kids and all like this and all like, I haven't seen a kid there. You got Texas license plate, you got Oregon license plate, you got Oklahoma license.
did he get your question answered, Mr. Baxter? Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
That's okay.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve item Z8, excuse me, item 47Z-9908, including the, did somebody?
No, we're making a motion, yeah, and so we always make motions in the affirmative. So a yes vote means we approve and a no vote means we don't approve. So the fact that Mr. Vickers is making a motion in the affirmative is just standard operating procedure. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's voting one way or another. Okay, continue your, are you finished?
Well, I was, but I can restate it just for the record there. One last time, I'm going to make a motion to approve item number 47Z-9908. There's a second.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Thrower.
Baxter.
Stain.
Brown.
Yes.
Hodges.
No.
Lunday.
Yes.
McDonald.
No.
Person.
No.
Russell.
Aye.
Samad.
Yes.
Vogel?
No. No.
Thank you. Vickers?
No.
Hart?
Yes.
I have 5 votes, so the motion would fail with going to the Board of Directors with the recommendation of denial.
Okay. So what was the final vote count with Mr. Baxter's?
Yes, Commissioner Baxter abstained, I believe.
He did, yes. Okay. So is it?
It was 5-5 with one abstention.
5-5. Okay, the motion fails. Okay, next item on the agenda is item number 48. Is the applicant here for the Dabney Street short-term rental? Okay, here it comes. Okay, we'll go ahead and have the reading from Mr. Moore, please.
Item 48, file number Z9912, Dabney STR2 PDC, 1513 Commerce Street. The applicant is proposing to rezone this property from R4 to PDC to allow use of the property as short-term rental 2 with a maximum stay of 29 days. The owner will not reside in the residence, and the entire structure will be rented as one unit. Staff is supportive of the application and recommends approval of the PDC zoning, subject to compliance with comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Okay, we have one card in opposition tonight, so if you'd like to introduce your short-term rental, and you're welcome to defer and hear what they say, or you can give us a presentation on your.
Awesome, yeah, I would like to defer, but I just basically wanted to say that thank you guys for being here and putting in some time tonight. It's taken a while, but in reference to docket 26, that I'm the partner that she spoke of. So we kind of run Airbnb together, and I know that that's not on the screen anymore, but in reference to that docket just before, I think one of our biggest issues we're going to hear tonight from the card is that parking was an issue in the back, which technically, and I want to be transparent, I do not have legal ingress or egress to my property from the back where the parking lot is, or where the driveway is. I have a 2-car garage when it was built. I was not part of the building process, but when I bought the house, it had a 2-car garage. That I don't believe I have legal ingress, egress. And so I think that that's probably going to be our biggest issue this evening. With that being said, I don't allow people back there anymore. I did at first. There were some issues that I think will be brought up. And that's why I don't allow it anymore, because I want to appease my neighbors. At the end of the day, it's their home as well. In docket 26, although we still have access and we do have legal ingress, egress to that property, we have learned our lesson. That property came on, not truly sure, maybe 8 months after I put this property on at Commerce Street, but the property on East 15th that was approved this evening, we don't allow people back there either, because we've learned our lesson of not letting people park in the back because they will abuse. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And so this is my first property. I'm learning how to run an Airbnb and run it successfully. And so there's some curveballs that I've been thrown in the last year, but I have been trying to combat them. So I will give the rest of the time to listen.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have one card in opposition to agenda item 48, and that is Everett Crook, believe. Can't quite make out the last couple letters.
Everett Gooch.
Okay, Everett Gooch.
Thank you guys for the opportunity to speak. My name is Everett Gooch. I'm representing the Gooch, Glover, and Keith families. Representatives from them are behind me. Our family, the Gooches and the Glovers, Gooches and the Keiths, we own lots A, B, and C. Glovers are C. We are staunchly opposed to the approval of this proposal for the following reasons. One, trespassing. In the application under B, existing conditions, the applicant lists parking for 2 to 3 cars accessed off a 16th Street by a shared driveway. That is a private driveway. According to our bill of assurance, the applicant's property does not have ingress egress easement rights to that driveway. Access to the property requires trespassing through lots A and B of block 62. The applicant has had knowledge of this since June. Part 2, nuisance. The property was originally advertised on Airbnb as a party house in Soma in early '23. In March of 2023, guests at the property hosted a house party. 6 cars were parked in the backyard. While exiting, one of those guests collided with my retaining wall and fence in my front yard. They left without mentioning it. I've received numerous empty promises from the applicant to repair, but have not been compensated for that property damage. In May of '23, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., one crowd of guests entered and exited our driveway approximately 30 times between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., captured by my security cameras. A few weeks later, a registered guest arrived on an unmuffled motorcycle and blipped the throttles for several minutes before I had to ask him to leave. On multiple occasions, guests have been wandering around in our backyards while drinking and smoking, have no regard for personal property or children. There are plenty of other places to stay and explore in Petaway. In our low-density residential neighborhood, within 1 block in each direction, there are at least 8 STRs that we know of. This application unfairly impacts the surrounding neighbors, has been a nuisance, and actively promotes trespassing. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Would the applicant like to come back up?
I do have one question back from the gentleman that, Mr. Gooch.
Yes.
You said that your property was where again? Because you said lots A, B, and then you said...
Sorry, so that's 516 East 16th Street. So if you see the red block that we're talking about, right behind that, I think it's a PDA, I believe. Or PDR.
Okay,
PDR. Yeah, so that's the driveway in question. The big issue is that, this PDR is designed to be an open space for us to interact with our neighbors. It is, but at the same time, we have these issues where, all of my neighbors have children, and you have these random people just wandering around in the backyard. Granted, that's not been as much of an issue recently, but the thing is that how do we know it's not going to continue to happen?
Okay.
Before the applicant...
Thank you.
Before the applicant comes back up, so this is the second issue tonight we've had about, does the applicant have the legal right to utilize a driveway? That question has bearing on this application, because if you can use the garage, and now we have neighbors saying he has no legal right to use the garage on a house that I assume has been there for years.
I agree. The commission only considers bills of assurance or homeowner association agreements. We can consider them, but they don't weigh heavily. But whether or not you have an access agreement, and that's a part of the application, that's something that the commissioners can definitely start delving into, and is definitely a serious factor that y'all need to weigh when you make your decision, because how are you going to park? How are you going to get back and forth to the property? So access to the property is definitely something that y'all could inquire about. Now, when you start getting into homeowner association agreements and bills of assurance or private contracts, we don't do that. But this is dealing with access.
Yeah, so to the applicant, I would just say, I'm assuming there's an alley in the back of this house.
Yeah, so if you're able to go to the other photo, the one that's zoomed in, it kind of shows the property.
How long has this home been here?
I believe it was built in 2017. That sounds right.
Okay, have you always used that alley to access the garage back here?
I purchased it 2 years ago, and at first, yes. And then I went on a trip, and I'm a travel nurse, so I was in Little Rock working for a while, went on a trip for a month, and decided to put it on the market. So I bought it as a primary, put it on the market to a travel nurse that was in town, and decided to rent it to her. And there were no issues because it was the same person coming in and out every day.
So is the only way to get to that garage through that
Correct, yes, sir. But with that being said, it's not the only way into the house. And so I actually have documentation for Airbnb. There were a few things that were stated, like me advertising it as a party house. I do not advertise it as a party house. I never use that word. Now, I do allow events, but I also ask every person that comes in that the event has to be approved beforehand, letting me know how many vehicles, how many people are going to be attending. And with that being said, I've only hosted one event since that incident that has occurred, and I reached out to the people behind me and the families and said, hey, this group that wants to rent this house is wanting to have a baby shower and they're wanting to use the side yard. Are you guys okay with that? They will still park out front because there's access to the house from the front. So and even Mr. Gooch also said it hasn't been an issue lately because I've been very diligent. I would like to read. So I keep it in my notes in my phone, but I literally copy and paste, and the only thing I change is, in quotes, I have guest name because I have to change their name, obviously. But when they first book the house, the first thing that says is, hey, guest name, thank you for booking our place. Access is through the front door. Details on the code to the front door will be given on day of arrival. Please respond and confirm number of guests staying on property along with number of vehicles that will be parking on site. Also, just a reminder, any events on site must be approved before your stay, including number of people attending. Thank you in advance. So I send that as soon as they book, and as soon as they arrive and I give them the code to the door, this is the message they receive on the day they come. Hello. We are looking forward to hosting you today. Parking is out front, in parentheses it says on Commerce Street, and the code to the door is blank. To lock when I also lead after that with the back drive behind the home is for owner access only. The neighbors are very strict on it, so please do not park back there. Now, with that being said, recently there was, I think he mentioned a date. I don't know what the date is off the top of my head, but I do have a screenshot to refer at least to when that person stayed. Gave the same spiel, right? His response after I said about parking is out front on Commerce Street, hope you enjoy your stay, he said, okay, thanks Josh. Curious, is there any additional parking besides street parking? I respond with only street parking, sorry. And he says, okay, sounds good. And that gentleman continued to go around the back and park. With that being said, I received a picture of that vehicle back there from Mr. Gooch, and like always, I respond to Mr. Gooch to let him know, okay, I'm on it, because they shouldn't be back there. And my response to that gentleman that was parked back there is, my neighbor let me know that you guys have parked your vehicle in the back driveway. The area is owners only, and it's strictly enforced. Will you please move the vehicle and park it up front of the home on the street? Thank you for understanding. And then I kind of go into the spill of, unfortunately, a past guest, kind of threw a party, and that was before I learned how to really set boundaries with my tenants. So this is a learning curve for me. And then I said, will you let me know when you move your car? Unfortunately, the driveway isn't legally mine, and the owner of it has ingress, egress. I said, your car will be towed if you do not move it. So I'm willing to work with them on needs that they have for their home and their boundaries. And I'm trying to enforce as much as I can. Unfortunately, people just don't listen sometimes, but for the most part, I have 50-something reviews on Airbnb, so I've had at least 50 people stay, and for the most part, I've had maybe 3 photos of cars back there. Understandably, the one person that threw a party, that's my fault. I didn't set the boundaries correctly, and I've totally learned my lesson. But.
Any questions from Commissioner? Yes, sir, Monty.
According to the recently established regulations by the City Board for short-term rentals, hosting of private parties and special events such as weddings, receptions, and other similar gatherings is not allowed in short-term rentals.
Okay, good to know. Well, then that's going to be changed too, and I apologize.
Thank you, Monty. For me personally, this property, there's an issue with this property, and it's not your average short-term rental, because to me the issue is I think as your renters see a house with an attached garage, regardless of what you put in your literature, the assumption would be that they can use that driveway and that garage. That would be my assumption, and I think you're going to have a perpetual problem as long as this property is available for rent. You understand what I'm
Absolutely,
getting at
yes,
there?
sir. And so actually, with that being said, in the pictures of the garage, because there are pictures of the garage in the Airbnb, it's got a pool table and a shuffleboard, and there is no room for parking a vehicle. So
but there's a driveway.
And behind the house, correct. But the house is presented on East 15th Street.
Yeah. Okay.
And so there's no reason for anyone to truly know unless they walk back there.
Other questions from, yes, sir, Mr. Hodges?
Is there any room at the side of the house to put a parking pad from the street?
Yes, sir. So there is a fence right now, and the side technically has maybe a one car. It's not a parking pad, I guess, at the moment. It's a patio, which I believe Mr. Gooch also mentioned that. So to I believe it's the north end of the house, there's a little concrete slab. And there is a potential future option of building. I just don't truly have the income yet to afford that, but that would be a lovely thing that I would like to see in the future. That way all parties are happy. Right now, I only allow street parking, and although, yes, their opinions and concerns are important to me, no one on 15th Street, since I've allowed street parking, is here to rebuttal this or to oppose this. And so, yes, I would like to build something up front. Financially, I can't promise that I'll do that this year. I would love to. Maybe I can. I'm a travel nurse, and I'm going to go to Wisconsin soon to go work.
Other questions?
So you're saying right now the guests cannot park behind the garage where you have the shuffleboard?
Correct,
They
yes, sir.
cannot park behind that area?
Correct. I do not allow it at all. I tell them, I say, access is through the front door, and I also tell them there is no parking out back, only street parking. It says it in the thing. It even says Commerce Street in the message. And it's not in my rules that they have to go search. I directly message them every single time they arrive at my house. It's the first thing they read on the
A
day of
certain
arrival.
percentage of them are parking there anyway, right?
What are you asking?
Certain percentage of your guests are just making the assumption that.
I would say if I only had, so I have 52 reviews. If I only had 52 people come, and I've had 3 people park back there since, so it's less. I don't know what that percentage is. Sorry.
Okay.
1%.
Okay. Questions? All right, okay, we'll have the neighbors come back up if they would like to rebut what you've said. I think they're going to.
Yeah, so I do have a Google Drive full of photos of cars parked in that driveway. But if you look at the driveway specifically, the Keith's property is directly, well, it would be above where this image is that we're looking at. And you can see how the driveway tapers down. It's wide and then it tapers and then it's yeah. So that tapered portion at the top outside of his property line was built for the Keiths so that they could back their car out. And the person that built this house, instead of doing what they're supposed to do and put it right back down onto Commerce, because they're supposed to have access on Commerce for this house, took the less expensive route and ultimately illegal route of just connecting it to that driveway. Yeah, it's one of those deals where every single time, and it's happened 3 times within the past 3 months, I have to send a text message. It gets my heart rate up. My wife gets angry at me. It says, why are there people back here? So it's going to continue to happen unless something changes here. Yeah.
So you did not build this house. You bought it already constructed?
I bought not the property that's directly above this image, but the property that has the other portion of the driveway that connects to 16th Street. I did not build it, I bought it.
I built it.
This is Mr. Keith. When I put my name on here, basically we're all part of the same group. If he wants to explain how the house was constructed, if that matters.
Does it matter to the commissioners? I don't, again, my concern is that it just, when you connect a garage and a driveway to an alley and you connect that to a house and you put that house up for rent, it's going to be almost impossible to keep people from violating what you're telling them in the VRBO or the Airbnb language. So this is a tough one for me to
Gotcha. It is.
prove. But while he's up, any other commissioners with questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Commissioner Hart, I would simply point out that if this was a single-family home being put up as a long-term rental for a yearly lease, this wouldn't even be an issue. These neighbors would still have the issue of someone utilizing a private drive to access another private drive illegally. and they would literally have no recourse. So I think the applicant has done his due diligence. Obviously, he needs to step it up by forbidding parking in the rear of the property because it is being accessed illegally. But I mean, he's done what he needs to do. Whether or not people are idiots or not is not the business of the Planning Commission.
I mean, the entrance is signed and says private drive owners only. At the end of the day, it's a nuisance to us.
I would park a towing truck on 16th Street. Make a ton of money.
Okay.
I do have one question.
Alicia, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I know it's late, but is there a gate to keep people from parking back there? I mean, because I could just see that being resolved by just having a gate so that you can't even get back there. You can't open the gate, an electric gate.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to pay for that?
I'm not saying, I'm talking about for the applicant.
Does he have a call?
Excuse me, my name is Clayton Keith, and I live at 1514 Park Lane. My garage and Mr. Dabney's garage face each other. The house was originally built for, Mr. Dabney's house was originally built for our music instructor at the United Methodist Church downtown on a fixed income. Mike Orndorff was the builder who also built my house. Our houses were built within 1 week of each other. My driveway for me to get into my garage was built, and because Kyle, who has since passed, they made it easy for him. The initial plans for the Commerce Street house is to access the garage from Commerce. The original plans of the building shows a driveway going up the side of the house, but for whatever reason, he made it easy, and my driveway goes off to the right. Mr. Dabney's goes off to the left, but I own property on Mr. Dabney's side, so I technically could, after speaking with a couple of attorneys, put a fence there. I can do that. I've already put up a $26,000 privacy fence because I have a 5-year-old little girl, and I've got people that are just wandering in my backyard. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think we got a clear picture of it now. Other questions? Motion, please, Mr. Vickers.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 48Z-9912, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted within the paragraph analysis of the agenda staff report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Thrower, roll call.
Exter?
No.
Brown?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, no.
That's a no?
That's a no.
All right, thank you. Hodges?
No.
Lunday?
No.
McDonald?
No.
Person?
No.
Russell?
Aye.
Samad?
No.
Vogel?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes. Yes.
Hart?
No.
Motion fails.
Hey, any other business before the Planning Commission? We are at the end of our regular agenda. This meeting tonight highlights the difficulty of the short-term rentals. And I guess the good news is we only have 450 some odd more to go. Thanks to our board of directors, we've got some work ahead of us on those. But some appear cut and dried and others are more complicated. And sometimes the neighbors don't have an opinion at all, and sometimes they're very passionate. So this has become a very tough issue, I'm sure, for planning commissions all over the country. Okay, if there's no other business before the commission.
I'd like to say this, Commissioner Hart, you did a fantastic job.
Thank you very much.
Chair.
Yeah, thanks.
Congratulations on it.
Do we have public comment? Ma'am, do you?
Yes, I don't know. I'm
all of our items have already been decided, so
Okay, well, I mean, I missed it then. We arrived late, so that's why I was saying I was listening at the end. So
I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, which item?
Okay, we are adjourned. Y'all be safe out there.